Hello, guys. Welcome to GTS episode number 10. This is your host, Master Grade Jess, with my co host, Lexi.
Hello.
Yay. And a man who needs no introduction. He's worked for some really awesome companies. I was going to say Disney, but I said it last time really weird, so I'm not going to say it again. But we have Justin Currie with us today, aka Chasing Artwork. How are you, Justin?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. Just chilling here.
Thanks for having me.
No, man.
Thanks for joining us. Holy smokes, I'm sure you're a busy dude.
A couple of things going on. Yeah.
No, seriously, guys, welcome to the show. It's gonna be a really fun one, like it always is every Friday. We're gonna start off things by just mentioning real quick that our friend over at Gundammer Pat, so Patrick, a friend of the show, he was on the show season 1. He's doing this whole big awesome community event to raise awareness to the hashtag Stop Asian Hate movement. So go over and check out his post, see if you guys want to enter it, bring awareness to this, because a lot of the people in my life that I love, in fact the majority, are Asian. Like literally Derek, Lena, Kevin. I think the only white guy is like Sean, isn't he? And Dad's also Asian. So
Yeah.
it just works out. So just go check it out. Be really cool. But without any further ado, today we're here to talk about Chasing Artwork, aka Justin Currie. Well, actually, it's the other way around. Justin Currie, aka Chasing Artwork. We have an awesome picture of him here. Justin, sorry. How are you, man? Like, what are you up to? Like, you were working on a foot earlier. Like, what are your days like?
I was. I'm working on the. God, I get the name wrong. The GPO2A Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I get that right?
I think.
Which has a very iconic foot. It has that big, awesome foot with like the two like upturned toes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a Gundam that I've wanted to paint for the longest time. I have this like very early memory of back when I was in high school and like just kind of exploring the internet for the first time. I found a Gundam web page that just had like pages and pages of links to images of Gundam, and I just went through them all and saved them all in a folder. I remember the GPO2A, the huge shield and that like new cannon. Like I just loved that, and it stuck in my head for since I was 13, 14. And so now I'm finally getting around to making art of it, and foot especially I think is a really cool design, so I'm spending a lot of time on his foot.
We're going Quentin Tarantino up in here now, so this is pretty cool. We're talking about feet, Gundam feet.
Were you like actively searching for Gundams, or did you just come across it?
I just came across it. I don't even know if I was really like I knew what Gundam was yet. I don't think Gundam Wing had landed on like Toonami at that point, so I think it was pre. I had no idea about the anime or the models or anything. Like that was my first exposure, was just a bunch of cool robot drawings I found on the internet.
Oh, that's rad.
That's pretty cool, yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, so this picture here of yours, I actually stole from your website, which is a really cool website, chasingartwork.com. This is in your About page. Can you tell us a little bit about the little picture that you have over here? And I say little in quotation marks because it's not that tiny. So what is this?
This is the one I'm holding the deer on fire, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. So this is at the Calgary Comic Convention 2018, because there wasn't a 2019?
2019.
19, yeah. So that's an original piece. That's I wanted to draw a deer on fire. Thought like a big flaming god forest creature of some kind. I thought that would be really cool. And then because I love small versus big narrative, like something really big versus something really small, I added this little hunter in the bottom corner that had just hit a deer with her arrow, and so she's been tracking the deer with the arrow, and the deer found its way through the forest and ended up at the base of this angry forest god, and that's the scene that we come across. And that was me getting my picture taken as I was selling the canvas. My mom took the picture.
Aww.
She was with me at the convention. So yeah, that was the last shot of that piece before it went to its new home. somewhere in Calgary.
I love that there's a whole story behind that.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge narrative to this rad painting.
We all know you love deer, Lexi, with your is it the Moose Gundam that you're working on over there that hasn't been
Yeah, he's up there.
somewhere there. No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, Justin. So a new home here in Calgary. So it's somewhere here. It's closer to us than you are right now. So maybe it's at Lexi's place. Who knows? Maybe it was her who bought it.
I wish it was.
Oh,
so rad.
but moving forward, we have here your logo, which is a super cute whale, right? And I know for a fact that this has a little backstory as to why it's a whale. It's not just because it's cute, because it is cute. Good. What is up with the chasing artwork, little whale?
So, okay, this is Chasing Artwork is my brand, and this is my logo, and this all stems from my training, which was graphic design. Right out of high school, I wanted to be an artist, but as a lot of us are told, you can't be an artist for a living, so find something else.
Mm-hmm.
And graphic design was the next best thing that I could find that could be a creative outlet, but still give me a 9-to-5 paying job. And when I was in grade 11, actually, a cousin of mine was in the Red River program in Winnipeg. And so I was able to come to Winnipeg and shadow her for a day at Red River College as a graphic designer. And it was a really cool experience. I grew up on a farm, like hours away from the city. So the closest town is like 700 people. So coming to big Winnipeg, which is like 700,000, it's mind blowing, right? Like it's overwhelming already. And then I go to the core of Winnipeg, and I get to hang out with all these artists who are like, there's all these cool anime like figures on their desks, and this one guy was doing like an Akira like piece for his project, and like I was just surrounded by like the coolest artists I'd ever been introduced to, and so that kind of like clinched my mind that was where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a graphic designer. This is where the artists are going and working on their craft. Yeah. So I was trained as a graphic designer, and one of the things they really teach you is logos and branding and typography and stuff like that. And then when I kind of went into the realm of being an illustrator, a lot of illustrators choose to brand themselves as like their name, like the art of Jake, the art of but coming from that graphic design background, we were kind of led in the direction of come up with a company name or a company more corporate kind of logo. And I like that for a couple different reasons. And as an illustrator and as a designer, one thing that I noticed over and over again was the more you worked on your craft, the more you practiced, the more you drew, the more you designed, the better you got. And it was very visible, right? Like your work from today versus your work from 6 months ago. If you've been drawing, if you've been working, it's a huge difference. You should hate what you did last year because you should be able to do a lot better. So it was this idea that you're always improving as long as you're working at it. Yeah. And so somewhere along the line, I thought it's kind of like you're chasing your best pieces. You're chasing artwork. Your best piece should always be the next one. It should always be in the future. So that's where kind of the Chasing Artwork brand started to become a thing. Yeah. And I've had a couple different logos. I think like my first logo was like a little infinity swoop and stuff like that. And it stuck around for a little while. And then when I got a little more serious about my company and my brand, I rebranded with the whale, and it's a white whale. And the reference there is to the story of Moby Dick, and which is a story of chasing your obsession. You're chasing something that's attainable. You should never be able to do your best piece. It should, always be out of reach. And so just kind of all those things combined is why my brand is what it is. It's been really neat going to conventions, being around really, really successful illustrators, but because I have that graphic design background and this strong branding, feel like my booth and my logos sticks in people's minds a lot more than, frankly, more talented illustrators. Because I have that combination of the two, I kind of have an unfair advantage.
Yeah, you're totally right though. I the moment like I totally knew who you were right away from conventions actually the moment we started talking about it, or every time we talk about Gundam art or things like that, you always come up right away, so you should be proud for sure.
Thanks.
It's the little
Do you
whale.
find there's a little bit of a burden in the name though, or do you feel like it's always inspiring?
I think it gives me that excuse of I'll be getting better. Like it's my better work's coming. It's next year it'll be even better and better after that. So, your idea that you're never finished, you're always growing, I think is inspiring and uplifting and doesn't put the pressure on you to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect. It needs to be finished, and then you need to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. Then move.
One thing I do remember, and sorry for butting in, but one thing I do remember, because I was listening to your podcast, and we'll talk a little bit about your podcast later, you mentioned something, you said, sometimes I feel like I finish a product or a project, and I leave it alone, and then I start thinking about the next one and start working it, but maybe I should revisit my other projects, and this was because of the whole DC movie stuff of it, that the Snyder Cut coming out. So
Right.
I think I understand where Lexi's coming from, right? Like you're chasing that, and it might feel like for a lot of people that it's a burden. I'm sure that at some point. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, or the question is, you don't think you haven't created your best thing yet, right? It's always in the future. Always.
Yeah. I think that's a fear that, like, what if I have created my best thing, and then what's there to look forward to, right? Sometimes I feel a little sorry for some of the in guest alley in conventions actors that are there for a movie they did 30, 40 years ago. Like, I don't want the book that I did 10 years ago to be the only thing I'm known for. I want people to be excited about what's coming out next, not only wanting to talk about that one thing I did years ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you think of Tom Cruise, you think of all the movies he's done, right? Or like Leonardo DiCaprio, like these big movie stars that keep innovating and keep becoming better. But then, for example, what's the guy's name? Harry Potter. What's his name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, right? Daniel Radcliffe. He's an awesome actor. I've seen his other work. He's awesome, but most people will always remember him for being Harry Potter.
Yeah, which is probably tough when you're so young like that.
Right?
I think it's like, I feel like you have to, oh man, you have to change your mentality a little bit maybe. If that's your thing. If you're in fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yeah, dude,
Sorry,
it's scary, man. It's scary. I get where he's coming from.
I think as an artist that is very scary, and it's something I struggle with a lot, like creating things and coming back to them, and do I still love this, and is this the best, and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually really nice and refreshing for me, because it's kind of like I feel like I'm sort of in an opposite mindset all the time to hear you say that. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You get like this whole new idea, and it is inspiring, because a lot of people tend to just sit on whatever they did, and they're like, well, I've peaked, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to get into that. It is.
Yeah. But we're gonna go on a little bit to your early work, but before that, I want to kind of say hi to everybody who's in the chat. I want to say hi to Grumpy Mao, Kimo Swabi, Uvio, Gumpla Ghost. Gumpla Ghost is a huge fan of Lexi. I got Han over there. Freddie.
You.
Freddie was wrong. Freddie was wrong was like, Chasing Artwork is gonna be on. Yes. Like, he loves your work. So Freddie is there. Hope you're doing well, Freddie. Uvio's like, I wonder if he attends cons in the U.S. He has, right? Pretty sure.
God, yeah.
A Brigader says it's tough because Harry Potter is certainly among the both half of his work. I think he meant like the bottom, maybe. I don't know, Brigader. I'm gonna need a little bit of clarity on that one. And
I did see him in a play in New York once.
He's good. He's a good actor, but people just know him for Harry Potter.
Naked horse one, you guys. That's for another time.
Kid Chaos, aka Noble Mecha, a big supporter of the show. He's an OG. Woke up in time to catch the show, so what's up, GTS fam? Hey, man. And then Freddie was like, oh, yeah, since I saw his stuff at Comic-Con a long-ass time ago. So, yeah, that's how he knows you. So, pretty cool. Freddie just loves the fact that you're here. But, speaking of your work, we're going to go into your early work and how you kind of transition into the Shattered Vector, right?
Yeah.
Style. So, we're going to start off with this one, which I'm pretty sure is from Metroid Prime. All right.
That's good old Samus. Yeah, so kind of going back to graphic design as my training, the primary the primary thing that we learned as graphic designers was the Adobe suite. So Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, After Effects. The bulk of things are done in Adobe Illustrator, which is a terribly named program because most illustrators hate using it, and not much illustration is done in Adobe Illustrator. It's a very rigid program. It's math-based. It's primarily used for logos and websites and brochures and things that need to be exact and like mathematically perfect. So most illustrators stay away from it because it's a very rigid program and not a whole lot of fun to use when you're starting out. So it was a 3-year graphic design course, and I used Adobe Illustrator for primarily all of it. And on the side, I was still doing a lot of illustration, and it was mostly drawing in sketchbooks, doing marker stuff, watercolors, a little bit of oil, and then I started bringing it into Photoshop and trying to develop digital style. Was a long uphill battle. I tried a bunch of different techniques. I was always trying to learn new ways of how to digitally paint. The internet is like a bit of a blessing and a curse when it comes to that, because there's just so much amazing artwork out there. It feels a little daunting when you're starting out.
Yep.
So I was trying to develop a style, and at that time I was working full time at a design firm where everything was in Adobe Illustrator. It was all vector work. And one of the things about that program is it has like an endless artboard. Like you can just draw in any direction forever. Because it's math-based, the program or the files are very, very small. So you can just have a whole bunch of stuff all together in one file, and it's going to be like maybe 20 megabytes kind of thing. And one day, I started playing around. I was bringing my pencil drawings that I scanned, and I brought them into Illustrator. I started playing around with vector on my illustrations. And eventually this kind of loose, shattered style started to develop. And I didn't really think, it was just an experiment. I thought, this was kind of cool. This was right around the time that I attended my very first convention in 2008. So I came to the table and I had a bunch of my traditional illustrations. I had a bunch of my Photoshop paintings, which I thought were going to be, things that got people's attention. And then I had a couple of these shattered vector experiment paintings. And I sold out of those on the first day.
Wow.
And nothing like that had ever happened before. It was like, clearly that's what people gravitated towards because it looked different. It was something new, and it was something they hadn't seen before. And so that kind of lit a fire under my butt for the next year at that same convention.
Yeah.
As soon as that convention ended, like that was my primary focus up until that next year, was getting more of these shattered vector paintings done for the convention next year. And that's kind of what started this whole style, which is now my brand and my company today, was just experimenting. It just stuck.
It's what the people wanted.
Yeah, but you never know, right? I always tell people when they're starting out, like, you need to just shotgun. You need to try a whole bunch of different things, and you never know what the crowds, the audience is going to gravitate to. And when you're lucky, it's something that you like doing as well. But it's really hard to predict what's going to hit and what's going to miss. And I feel really lucky that I just happened to develop a fun style in a program that I really like using. It's also Oh,
She's back, I think. Let me. She's coming back, I think. It's happened yesterday.
There was no reason for
Sorry, Justin. That's okay.
No, you're all good. These things happen. I'm just really happy it wasn't me that it happened to first, because I'm sure it's gonna happen. But the other thing is, again, like, because this program is something that illustrators don't tend to go towards, there's nobody making artwork like this. There's not much competition in this little arena that I found in this style.
Yeah.
And so I feel really lucky too. Like, there's so many way more talented artists at conventions that have to fight with other super talented artists that are drawing in similar styles and doing similar things. So I kind of get to stand out there as well.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like finding your niche in the market, right? And you found it.
Yeah.
And the thing about your art is it's very unique. So all artists have a signature, right? Like, you know, they'll sign their art because that's you. But when I see something in this style, I immediately think of Chasen Artwork. So it's like your style is your signature, right? And with that comes the whole fact that you have so much sources of inspiration. For example, right here with Metroid Prime, which we were talking a little bit about yesterday when we asked you. So you seem to be a pretty big video game fan, right?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm, and in 1992, a windstorm blew our antenna over. So didn't have any channels. We didn't have our farmer vision, which was like 15 channels. But my dad did wedding photography and grad photography, like videography and stuff. Like, so we had a lot of VCRs and camera equipment at the house. So we had a lot of VHS tape movies. And eventually I got a Sega and a PlayStation. So all for entertainment, I played a lot of games, and we watched the same movies over and over and over again.
What were the movies?
Oh man, Iron Giant, Dragon Heart. On the very same VHS tape, we had Aliens, like Aliens 2, and then Crocodile Dundee. So as kids, we had to force ourselves to get through terrifying aliens if we wanted to watch fun Crocodile Dundee.
Hey, aliens are awesome, man.
Yeah, and eventually I started to enjoy that. But as a child, it's terrifying to watch that film just so you can see Crocodile Dundee.
It was worth the wait.
It's worth the wait, yeah.
Yeah, Aliens did traumatize me as a child.
Really?
I have a very distinct memory of that one.
Oh man! And then you said Iron Giant, which is an amazing movie. I think everybody remembers this movie from their childhood, unless you were born like 2007 or whatever, something like 2007. But like, you know, everybody grew up with the Iron Giant, right? And it's such a cool movie, and like the whole idea behind it. But anyway, speaking of like awesome movies and stuff, like we have this Master Chief right here, the Chief we trust, right? So this is still Vector, or is this a different style?
This is still Vector, yeah. This is very early Shattered Vector, and just like a rough explanation of kind of how the style works. I get kind of a rough silhouette or a rough shape of the character that I'm drawing, and then I duplicate the shape on top of itself a bunch of times. And I hit the Pathfinder tool, which kind of everywhere the shapes intersect, it cuts it. So I end up with like all these cut pieces. And then I set those to a transparency. So it's a whole bunch of these shattered shapes at a 40% transparency. And then I start stacking them on top of each other over and over and over. So the more I stack, the darker it gets. So all those really dark patches are just where there's a lot stacked on.
Okay, this
so
brings me. How long does this take?
It's quick. It's loose and it's fat and it's quick. So this piece probably maybe 4 hours, maybe.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean,
This is like circa 2008-9, so it's been a while. But.
Oh, so I mean, at the end of the day, it's a program that's copying and pasting on top of each other in order to create the dark spots of the original that you created, right?
Yeah, like there's a lot of ways you can do this in Photoshop as well, but the thing about Vector is you can take this little 1 inch by 1 inch shape and expand it to the size of a building, and it just recalculates it, and it's just as sharp. So
Oh.
in a lot of my paintings, I'll kind of get some cool shapes. I often compare it to Lego. I'll get some cool shapes and some cool components, and I'll copy them over and over and over again, and I'll stretch them and make them bigger and make them smaller and just duplicate them over and over. So there's a lot of recycling going on. So especially in some of my later work with not necessarily the Gundams, but a lot of my robot work, a lot of those robotic components and shapes are recycled from other pieces that I just keep using over and over again and recoloring. So it really makes things really quick and easy on my end. Again, there are ways you can do this in Photoshop. I'm just really well versed in Illustrator and Vector, so I can make it very efficient.
So that's why whenever you look for an image and it comes out as vector on Google, it's because, like you said, when you resize it, it maintains its sharpness, right? It still is nice and smooth, as opposed to JPEG and PNG even sometimes, which is like the main go-to when you use Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I'm seeing right now, when I look at your Master Chief, and then I look on the other one, which is Kratos, there's a very different style, and I think it's because your backgrounds are very bare in the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think that comes from the graphic design training. I really like clean layouts and clean design. So yeah, I kept a lot of my pieces very clean, and I think that's just an aesthetic of liking clean layouts. And I also found like it kind of helped me stand out in a crowd of illustrators. I think are mostly taught to fill the entire scene up. You have to have a background, a midground, foreground, and I think a lot of my peers would think my pieces are unfinished, right? There's just a floating character, whereas the rest of it. I like that. I like that look. I like that clean look.
Yeah, it's very nice. Speaking of Kratos, did you? Is this because you played God of War, or what's up?
Yeah. I binged God of War 1 and 2, and I've played the latest one I think I've got about halfway through. I was staying at a friend's house, and I got to play a good chunk of it, and then I haven't gone back to it, but I really there's so many video games I want to spend more time on, but I spend way too much time painting. So
I think I'm
behind on my video games.
I think that's a good problem to have, the opposite of most of us.
Then there's the guilt too of like I should be playing these games so I can paint them. So it's almost like the obligation, like I need to play the new God of War so I can make God of War art because that's what people. Yeah, so it's that whole vicious cycle.
You got to get an excuse then. You don't have to feel too guilty. I'm researching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wish I could say that.
What are you playing video games all day, Lexi? I'm just doing a little bit of background research.
Let me tell you, all the Paper Mario I did this morning's not helping. Not making me more productive.
I think you should definitely go back and finish the latest God of War, because God of War Ragnarok is coming right around the corner, which is the second installment, right, of the new reboot, which, what's it called? Is it Santa Monica Studios for Sony? Really, just amazing game. God of War is an amazing game. Like the newer, I love all the first three because I'm a huge God of War fan. I never played the PSP ones, but the other ones were amazing. I remember when I was telling, I think, Sean about this. I don't know if I mentioned it to Lexi too, but in the past, when I first played God of War when it came out, all of my friends were playing like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or something like that, and nobody wanted to play God of War or Devil May Cry or those games with me. And then all of a sudden, now we're like 26 years old, and they're like, "Oh my God, God of War is so cool!" And it's like, dude,
I told you
Back
about this.
then, it was, oh my God, GTA is so cool.
It's like, what?
It's cool to be a nerd now, remember, too.
Oh,
Things have
true.
changed.
True. This is true.
It's no longer just beating up people on the side of the road. People like narrative and fantasy, and more than ever, I think.
Good. Yeah.
Which is probably amazing for illustrators.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's your time.
It's your time to shine. And you didn't only stick to video games. You also, so we here have the steampunk Iron Man, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So cool.
So actually, the one beside that Shattered Starscream, I think that was my first real official shattered vector painting
Oh.
experiment. That was the one that I brought to Comic-Con and people really gravitated towards. And so that was kind of my first like validation of like this wonky experiment really paid off and I should explore this more. And then in that Iron Man is a great example of how me recycling in vector helped make everything go quicker. So like every single gear and pipe on that Iron Man is duplicated at least twice, 3 times, 4 times, twisted over. Like all those pipes coming off his leg, I just grabbed that chunk, flipped it over, put it on his other leg, and just change it a little bit. And then like all the wisps of smoke as well are all the same thing. And then in the very back you can see like a 10% ghost of the Iron Man. You can see like the gears and stuff, and that's me blowing the whole thing up really big and making it a ghost to kind of give it that texture in the back. And something that you can do in Photoshop if you plan for it, but in Illustrator it's really easy to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is what I mean though. Like the reason I put these two is because I really wanted to mention the whole background thing. Because for the steampunk Iron Man, you can really tell the difference when you put a background and you put noise into the rest of the picture instead of just being the focal point being just the in this case Iron Man, as opposed to Starscream, but it's just Starscream in a white canvas.
This is rad though. It looks like a movie poster.
Yeah.
Like, it's very slick. Like you could put this in your house and not be embarrassed about your nerd art. Oh, that just happens to be Starscream, whatever. It's pretty cool.
But I think this goes back to like your training, right? For logos and the clean part of it, you really want something that just projects an image and people immediately can be like, oh, there it is. Starscream looks really cool.
I could see why this would sell. It's like it draws you in right away. It's clean. It's crisp. Very graphic.
Typography, like a lot of my earlier pieces, I played around with some typography somewhere in the piece. So yeah, I having fun with typography as a professional illustrator has given me so many advantages over really talented artists who just like slap Comic Sans on their art. Like if you're starting out as an illustrator, I really highly recommend taking any kind of graphic design training. It's going to do nothing but really help your illustration career. And it really helps you get in the door and just do all these little things a little better. Then printing as well. So big focus in graphic design is printing your stuff. And the reason why Illustrator and Vector is widely used is because Vector prints really well. It's really easy for a vector file to talk to the printer and print really cleanly. Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about resolution. It's vector. Resolution doesn't matter. It prints pristinely. Mm-hmm. Because I'm using Illustrator in such a crazy way that it was not built to really be used, and I would take my pure vector files to the printer, and in early days, this was like Office Depot and Staples, I would crash their machines because their printers could not stomach the amount of crazy vector shapes that were just stacked on top of each other over and over and over again. So I started having to flatten my pieces as a final step. I had to take my vector files and bring them into flatten it. So the choke. No, we're all good.
No, we could. Could you repeat that again? Because you kind of broke up a little bit.
Okay, sorry. The printers couldn't handle the vector artwork, so as a final step, I had to bring it into Photoshop, flatten it, and present it as a flat image. Because otherwise, I would crash the Office Depot and Staples machines and printers. I'm using the program in a way it wasn't really intended, and that bit me in the butt early on. So I've learned my lesson.
There it is. But did this happen only once that you crashed it and then you were like, oh, I have to change things up? Or was it a multiple thing where the guys were like, oh, here he comes again. Oh, God.
So I crashed to Staples and they got kind of mad at me. And then I eventually started going to more specific design shops that were could do like some more intricate print stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they tried to make it work, but it would come out as kind of a garbled mess.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were the ones who kind of told me, like, this vector, this file doesn't translate for our printers. You're gonna have to flatten it or do something different because we can't, machines won't take it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Man, imagine being the guy that crashed Staples.
Did you find that flattening it changed the quality at all?
I no, like I bring it in as pure vector, and I make it the exact size that I want it to print as.
Mm-hmm.
And then as long as it's over 300 dpi, you're pretty good to go.
Pretty nice.
Cool. You can tell all the like the translucence of all the work. Like everybody almost looks like you can see through them, but not. You can tell.
Yeah, all those transparencies stack. Nothing's 100% opaque for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool.
Now, the next image we have is the kite, the girl with the kite and the dragon with the kite. So can you tell us a little bit about this one? I'm pretty sure that yesterday you said that this was an important image for you.
Yeah, so there was a period kind of between I laid off at the graphic design job, and before I got hired, I worked in video games as a concept artist and interface designer because I could not only draw but do interface design. So after I left the graphic design job, I think I was only really unemployed for like 2 months. I spent those entire 2 months just drawing nonstop. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that was kind of getting bored with having these clean backgrounds without, any. Yeah, I wanted more storybook illustrations. I wanted to get into comics. I wanted to get into kids' books. I wanted to do more narrative work with my illustrations. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the first pieces that was kind of developing a more narrative style and something that could potentially turn into a book one day, or I could start doing kids' books one day. Mm-hmm. This was kind of me moving in that direction. Mm-hmm. And I see it as like a big stepping, it was a big departure from my normal stuff that I'd been making up to that point. Mm-hmm. I see it as, a pretty pivotal piece of me moving in a more storybook direction.
I'm glad you mentioned comics in there, because I did want to ask, and you actually mentioned it a little bit earlier when you said, people tell you as a kid not to become an artist, right? And so you're like, the next best thing is a graphic designer, right? Because that's where you saw the direction moving for artists. So what really sparked that in you in your childhood to, or was it as a child, did you know that you were going to be an artist, or that's what you wanted to do? What exactly pivoted you to that?
So growing up, I grew up in it was a hockey town, and I wasn't especially good at sports. I wasn't especially good academic-wise, but I seemed to be way better at drawing than most kids. And earlier on, I was way better at Lego than most kids. So those two things really stuck out as this is clearly what I'm geared towards, and maybe I should concentrate on that, because that's where, I was getting the praise, I was getting the attention, I was getting, that was, and I like to do it. That's kind of what, made me want to pursue that path. And then seeing graphic designers in person and seeing that it wasn't just boring websites and boring brochures, that they were illustrating and doing really cool things on the computer, and we're watching anime and drawing Dragon Ball Z, that's kind of sent me down that path. And then enter conventions, and everything changed.
Wow. That's that's pretty cool, because I will always remember, and I guess on the personal side of things, because I never wanted to really be an engineer when I grew up. I didn't want to do any of that. What I really wanted to do was music, but I always heard my dad in my head saying, musician, you're not really gonna be able to put anything on the table, with that. So it's eventually I had to chase the dream of my dad, which, it's whatever. Like, I'm good now, right? I'm not depressed, you know.
Sound good.
But it happens. I just wish that I wish that everybody got to explore a little bit what they really felt passion for, right? Because it must be a dream come true being able to work on something like Lexi said, like being able to, maybe play video games and say, you know what, I'm researching because my job is drawing, not drawing, but like making this art, shatter vector, and it just really inspires me. Like, it must be a dream, or maybe that's how I see it. I don't know about
Or
you.
I guess my question on this would be, when it does become your full-time job, when you kind of left the video game side of things and decided to do this full-time, did it lose any of the fun, or is it something you're still really in love with?
Still really, really in love with, yeah. No, I don't think, if anything, it just became more encompassing. Like, illustrating was always something I was doing on the side. Like, I would work 9 to 5 doing design work, and then I'd put another 5-6 hours of my own illustration in after work. And that wasn't getting paid to do it. I wasn't getting any attention for it. It was just something that I was always doing, and eventually started to get me more attention. And like years later, I started making money on it, but I was never not doing it on the side. It was always something that was happening.
Wow.
And that comes to the chasing whole thing of it. Like, it was, and so the only advice I think anybody ever really needs to hear is it's all practice. It's all about the mileage. It's not a special program or course or whatever. The more miles you put into something, the better you're going to get at it. And that's especially when I started traveling around to conventions and meeting some like truly exceptional artists. That was the consistent storyline, was they just are always drawing. They're always doing something, they're always practicing. They're never not. And that's how they get as good as they get.
Wow. I mean,
So cool, living the dream.
yeah. I mean, but it's a dream, but it takes work, right? Like,
Yeah.
you see it all the time. Like, I know I see it because, I play the guitar, so I watch a lot of guitar videos. And then like these new videos that, maybe not new, but these videos that people have put out where it's like 1,000 days of playing this, right? And it shows you the progression, and it's like, it really is. It's about doing it every day. The best person, or the person who's the best or who's amazing at something, didn't just get there overnight. You know what I mean?
No, but that's usually what you see, right? And that's one of
true.
the things that I keep reminding myself when I see artists on the internet. I'm just seeing like their latest, most amazing piece. I'm not seeing the, sometimes decades of practice that it took for them to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. No.
Do you keep some of your really, really old stuff just to look back on?
Oh yeah,
Or like
yeah.
your teenage drawings and stuff?
My mom keeps everything, so yeah. I don't think there's too many of my drawings that have been thrown away or scrapped from my early. Yeah, everything from middle school and high school, all my assignment sheets have doodles on them, and I'm pretty sure they're all tucked away in a tub somewhere.
That's awesome.
So cool. That's what moms are for, right? Then we have Final Fantasy. We have Sephiroth and Cloud, right? In this one?
Yes, have you
Yeah.
not played Fantasy 7?
Yeah, this is Final Fantasy 7. I mean, that's where you see Sephiroth and Cloud, right? And that's
Yeah,
the Buster
you can
Sword all
say
broken
it
apart.
with your question marks at the end of those sentences.
Oh no! I know. I'm kind of making sure, because what if I get it wrong and people just start saying like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know his Final Fantasy stuff."
You're an enemy to the people.
No, awesome work again. We can still see the clean aesthetic that you really worked on in the beginning. Nothing in the
Is this an
background.
older one? This is kind of that pre-era, the more graphic.
This is a bit of an older piece. Yeah, this is my probably most famous. This is what I got famous on the internet for way back in the day. This is my most viral piece. This is also my most stolen piece.
Oh.
You can find this piece available on T-shirts and stuff all over eBay and Amazon. Like, it's spread across the internet like wildfire, which is really cool. That's the awesome thing about the internet. It'd be seen by millions and stolen by dozens, is what I usually say.
Shit, that's
Um,
something I didn't even think of. But of course.
yeah. Like I have a whole folder on my computer dedicated to people who've gotten tattoos of this piece. And I just get sent them after it's done. But like a guy in the UK has it across his chest. No, not many people ask. Yeah, they get it and they show me, or I get tagged. And in 2014, 2015, I went to Australia to a convention. I had this piece, and people in Australia recognized it as like, you're the guy who did that. And as a kid who grew up on a farm, like that was like, a pretty big moment in my life, being recognized for artwork in Australia.
Like literally halfway, like the other side of the world.
Yeah. And growing up, Final Fantasy VII is huge. My favorite game, hands down, forever, always. Yeah, it was a big part of my gaming career, and then like illustrating. Like I had the strategy guide, and I would try to draw the characters out of it like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I blame it for me getting into illustration in a way as well. It means a lot.
Yeah.
I think Final Fantasy VII is one of those games that I think, like, if you were one of those kids that grew up with it, I think it means a lot to a lot of people in that way. I have a Final Fantasy VII tattoo too. It's not yours. I can tell you guys a really quick story about this. One time a tattoo artist asked if she could have my picture, and she paid me $50 for it, and I found out I'm on someone's chest.
What?
Somebody, I think in Calgary, has my face tattooed on their chest.
Sure.
But she actually asked for the photo, and she did pay for it, which is why I'm surprised people don't at least ask.
Was it that? Does that have a tattoo of your face on his chest?
No, he wouldn't. Alas. Put my name across his neck. No, just kidding.
Branded. We have some people. So real quick in the chat, Kid Chaos, like Noble Mecha says, I've seen his work at either New York City Convention or Anime. Next time, I'm not really sure if it was his or imitations. So have you ever been to New York City for?
Yeah, since 2013, I've had a booth at the New York Comic-Con.
Oh, there it is. Very nice.
I had a really cool story about that. I don't know if we're ready for it, but
Go for it. I don't. I'm sure Justin doesn't mind. Go for it, man.
Give a story.
Your story about New York Comic Con. You were telling us yesterday.
What was the story?
Just
Marvel
about
story?
kind of where, yeah.
Oh,
okay,
right.
okay, yeah. So in 2013, I got a booth at New York Comic Con, and then since then I've been. It takes a long, like for New York and San Diego and like Emerald City, it's hard to get in the door there. It's hard to get a spot, and then once you get your spot, eventually you want to like upgrade and get a bigger spot, and it's really hard to do so. Like you usually have to ask year after year after year, and eventually you get one. So eventually I got a bigger booth on the main New York floor. They split their artist alley and their main floor up, and eventually I was upgraded to the main floor. I was actually like almost within eyeshot of the Marvel booth at New York Comic Con. And so one year, somebody who worked at Marvel came over and looked at my stuff and bought a couple prints, and we had a great conversation. And then they went away, and the next year they came back again to visit, and they brought some of their friends, and they bought more work. And then the next year, it came over as like a crowd of Marvel employees came and surrounded my booth and bought a bunch of my stuff. And then a couple weeks later, I was sent they asked if I wanted to work on Ant-Man and Wasp as a artist, to which I said yes. I had a million things going on, but I dropped them all to work on a Marvel movie.
That's so. I told my friends yesterday. So I have my best friends in Texas, and so after the call yesterday, and after Lexi and I got off, I went on there to play some League of Legends with them, and I was talking to them. I'm like, oh, I had to do a quick meeting with Chasing Artwork, Justin Currie, and they're like, oh, who's that? And I'm like, he's an artist. He's like a real artist. He's actually worked with big companies. And I'm not saying that artists aren't real, but like a established artist. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, really? Like, well, what has he done? I'm like, well, you know, like, I think he's worked on, I think he told us Ant-Man or something like that. And so they went over and they're like, oh my God, this guy's actually, he's not lying. He actually got this guy on here. It's like, he's actually a pretty big deal. And so, yeah, no, they were like, holy shit. No, so that's awesome. And even then, that story right there is a clear example of what you said, which is keep practicing and keep going. And we mentioned it because you went to that convention and you went the next year. And we mentioned a little bit, I think yesterday when we heard this, is what if you hadn't gone that next year? What if you had just stopped? Right?
Yeah.
None of that.
And like Emerald City and New York Comic Con are like as a comic book fan, those were the two. Like, I was like, I have to go. All the best comic book artists, people from like the UK, like literally that was like the creme de la creme. So I can't, like, for me as a fan, those were the conventions I dreamed of going to, and that were such a big deal to me. Because so yeah, to get in, I can't even imagine. But then it's so worth it.
It's a lot of dripping on the organizers. Like, if yeah, I sent in my application. Like, can you check? Did I get in? Did I get in? Like, you have to just kind of keep at it. Something about Emerald City is just the most intimidating artists all there. And like, I love the New York Comic Con, but they kind of have like, they're like traditional, like the best of Marvel, the best of DC, like it's kind of what you expect, comic artist wise. Emerald City is like the best concept artist of like video games and movies and TV show, and it's such a crazy range. And yeah, I think Emerald City is like, I'm the most intimidated by the art scene at Emerald City.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's much more, it's less like commercial seeming. It's very like, these are the artists, these are who's cool right now. These are the people that are putting out this right now. Yeah, definitely probably my favorite convention. Just as far as like meeting people and talking to artists and stuff like that.
That's scary. Sounds scary.
Yeah,
sounds fucking intimidating, dude. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, but good job. Like, you have to be brave, right? You have to put yourself out there and heckle, harass people a little, and talk to all those like super intimidating people. And
most of them are just people. They're just normal people.
Just people. You're literally going to bars after, and you're like, "There's Chip Zdarsky," and we're like. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey.
You have to keep reminding them that they're famous. Like, you're a really big deal on the internet. You know that, right?
Yeah, like literally. And you're like, just be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool. And I'm like,
I mean, honestly, though, we forget sometimes that the people we look up to and are up there are just people, right? Like, it is sometimes difficult. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had an encounter with, like, a fan or something? Like, when at the conventions, like, oh, chasing artwork, and you're like, oh, this is a little weird.
Like every once in a while, like, you know, conventions, there's people who are a little more socially awkward, but it's nothing uncomfortable has ever happened. And you know, I'm Canadian, right? So I'm polite and nice, and it's easy. Yeah.
Oh man, there you go. Speaking of polite and nice, something that's not super polite and nice is the Ava Unit 1.
Yeah, nice transit.
Yes, because it's not polite, right? Berserk mode. Tell us a little bit about Ava in general. Like, you drew this because you watched it. Do you like Ava? What can you tell us exactly here?
So this was early on when I wasn't full time into illustration yet, and I got invited to be into a gallery.
Oh.
Fine artsy. This.
Oh, there we go.
Or did I cut out?
Yes, you did. You kind of left. You said I got invited to this gallery, and then
I got into a fine arts gallery, and so I wanted to do something really cool that didn't want them to recognize. So I did this hoping nobody would know what it was. So I did fan art and put it in a fine art gallery, and nobody mentioned that they recognized it as something from Evangelion. So this was me sneaking fan art into a fancy gallery, and I got away with it.
That's my dream. And, that's my literal dream.
Wow.
Yeah, I sold a big canvas of it, and it was really cool. I don't know if the woman ever realized what it was from or what it was based on, but she loved it, and I love it. So I mean, everybody's happy, right?
She sees the anime now, and she's like, "Oh, did this guy that I bought it from create this anime? Like, how famous?"
I don't know if she'd ever see the anime.
Like old ladies, and you're like, she doesn't know what this.
I mean, that in Ava Unit 0, I mean, Unit 1, sorry. Ava Unit 1 is one of the most recognizable mechas in pop culture, I feel, when it comes to anime.
I always think this, but then, like, I work at a makeup store, and if I showed this to my coworkers, they would have no clue.
Really?
It depends on who you surround yourself with, right?
I guess.
It's like,
I'm
honestly,
sure one of her nephews eventually pointed it out, but I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
She never. Yeah.
Is that?
They probably thought she was the coolest.
Yeah. Like, hey, Aunt, is that the mecha that rips apart another mecha and eats it? What? What did you say, Timmy? Like, so we're talking about bloody stuff and whatever, and then we have the Xenomorph, All Hail the Queen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we already talked about it, right? It was a childhood favorite movie.
Childhood trauma.
And this is a great example of how the vector really can make things go quickly. So her entire tail is built from the same 6 or 7 like overlapping shapes, just duplicated and like warped and expanded over and over and over again. So I'm able to paint really quickly, but then I'm using the same shape language that I tore from other pieces of the painting. So it's duplicating on itself, and so that shape language is consistent throughout the piece because it's getting torn from other pieces of itself.
That sounds so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a good example of go with the narrative.
Being torn from pieces of itself.
Yes.
I love that.
It's so cool.
So cool. And such a good like origin story for the painting. Very cool.
Thanks. I think every couple of years I do something aliens or predator like if you go through my portfolio, it's almost like on a timer. It's been 4.5 years, so there's a new aliens piece being released. It's one of my favorite franchises, and I love drawing them. It works really well with my style. That organic, broken, sharp look.
I mean, the fact that I'm just still thinking about your story about Alien and watching Crocodile Dundee, just so, it works. I love it. No, but, so this means that we're getting a new Alien Predator thing coming out soon?
I did a haunted house piece just recently, and there's an alien queen in there. So I think I might be okay for another couple of years, which I think is coming up in the slides.
Okay. Yeah, it is. I saw it's a little one. All right, so the next one we have is eMud and concept artwork. So this is kind of like what you used to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I worked for a company called Complex Games in Winnipeg. And I started with them, I want to say, 2011, somewhere in there. And when I started there, it was about 14 guys in a house. It was the owner like lived in the second floor, and then it was just computer setups in the first floor and the basement were just sweaty programmers and artists and 3D artists just working on games. And I was with the company for a couple of years, so we worked on some mobile games, and then eventually got some contracts to work on, like I worked on the Lost Girl mobile game for the show, and some DuckTales and some Ninja Turtles, and Warhammer Horus Heresy, and they sent us a whole bunch of models, and so that was kind of like me getting introduced to the crazy world of Warhammer models. So we got to work on some really cool titles, and it was a really neat experience working at that company.
Super cool. So these are concept art from the game eMud, right?
Pronounced eMood.
eMood. Oh my god, I'm terrible at this. Okay, eMood.
Mood. Yeah, so this was one of my like first big projects where I got to be like artistic lead on it. And my style was really kind of finding its rhythm, like I was I was pretty set in my distinct vector style, and so I got to be the main artist for all the background and character artwork. And we built the whole thing in this isometric game engine. So I would build the background and have the background, foreground, midground, and then we just kind of put them in this flat planes in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Then the programmer would have like the characters just kind of walk on top, right? So you can't really interact with the background. It's almost like just a painting that's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the little character would walk on top. The like in this scene, the torches would be in the midground. So when the character walked in behind the torch, it would actually go in front and stuff like that. So I got to kind of work in that pipeline of you need to slice the artwork up in this kind of way so that we can program the game around it.
Yeah.
So I got to do artwork and then work with programmers and see how that sausage gets made. Really neat.
This is so beautiful too. It does kind of remind me of that Final Fantasy VII, like the painted backgrounds and stuff. That's super old school.
Or-
It reminds me a little bit of Diablo.
Yeah.
Diablo?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
crazy what we can do on mobile and stuff these days. Like that used to be like these huge games. So gorgeous.
I just love the art direction that you took with this because it's very lively when we get to the next one. Of course, the first one, it's in the dark, you got torches, but the next one you can really see how the shattered vector style kind of works with like the rocks and all of that. It kind of just gives it this different feel, like this 3D feel. So really awesome. Like you said, you took artistic lead. So does that mean that you had people working with you or under you who would have to follow what you were doing, or how does that work?
Oh, thank God, because I don't know how anybody would handle my wonky Illustrator files. So that's the only. So that kind of leads into why I left the company that we'll, I think, eventually get to. But because I was the only artist working on it, I could really do my own thing. And my eventual choice to leave the video game company and start my own company came from this realization that working at a big company with a bunch of different artists was I always kind of had to be following the art director's lead and matching his style. And I was starting to get all this recognition and work and attention for my distinct style on the side. So eventually I kind of had to make the decision, like, do I want to keep working 9 to 5 trying to copy this guy's style, or do I go full time into my style and see where that goes?
Wow.
So this was, kind of working on this and then going back to try to copying my art director style was, really highlighted that for me.
Well, I mean, it's awesome again that you mentioned that because it's important to understand that it's not as easy as it sounds just opening your own company, but it's worth it.
Out of security, that's what's this. I'm clearly like a jaded artist. I'm listening to myself. But taking that leap out of security, like into something a little bit more unknown, it's just something it's just something I admire because it's so. But it's not easy.
It's the freedom that you get with it, right? Because now he has the freedom to do whatever he desires. The power is his. He can, unless I'm mistaken, Justin, you have your distinctive art style, so now you can do whatever. You don't have to copy somebody else's art, and you can just do what you want, right?
Yeah, it was a really neat, I think a lot of artists find this in their career that eventually they stop being hired to do exactly that at some point. Oh, sorry, did I cut up?
Yes, you did.
Sorry about that. As an artist, eventually you stop getting hired to duplicate something else and you start to get hired to do the thing that you're doing. Clients will want what you've done in the past, the thing that you did before, I want more of that instead of, hey, can I hire you to draw exactly like this? That was really cool when that started happening. I was getting jobs based on my style, not jobs to draw like somebody else.
you have to build an identity, and you know what, honestly, I can attest to that, because before I moved to Canada, when I lived in Mexico, I was an English teacher, and my boss would send me out to the big companies, because this is a private school. So I was an English teacher, and I was teaching the advanced levels of English, and I was the head for the advanced levels of English for ESL. So I would prep students to come to Canada to study or to work, so they could pass the TOEFL or the IELTS test and all of that stuff. My boss would always send me to the companies. To like, I used to teach Coca-Cola executives in Guatepec, Mexico, and stuff like that. And he was getting paid good money for that. I was getting paid nothing, right? And the executives eventually were like, "Hey, so, like, you know, they're gonna bring another teacher in, but we don't want another teacher. We like your style. How much can I pay you to do that? You know, to come teach us the way that you teach, because we like the way that you teach." And so at some point I realized I had all these private students want to come to me because of the way that I teach, not necessarily that the plan that the school has, because I left that thing a long time ago. It was shit, right? So at some point it's like, you know what? I built my identity, and I ended up quitting, and I opened up my own little school, and I did really well for myself during that time. And so you get the freedom to do whatever you want.
I think too, this always reminds me, they say this in voiceover too a lot, and it's a similar kind of thing where at first you get hired, like, can you sound like this person? Can you sound like Tara Strong? Can you sound like this person? And then eventually you start getting hired as yourself because they want your voice. And then eventually they're like, can you sound like Lexi? And they don't hire you anymore. They hire the cheaper version. That's kind of reminds me of a little bit.
No, but it's nice to see you be able to do you, right? And I mean, no snide to your company. In fact, you kind of realized that, you know, and it helped you. At the end of the day, they're stepping stone to what eventually comes next. And now,
so much there.
What's up?
You obviously learned so much there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, picked up a ton there, and I still. I still work with some of the artists on side projects there, and actually I crashed their Christmas party 2 years ago. Like, I'm still, we're on great terms. Love these guys, so
I'm not
blood there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not in great terms with that school, but whatever. Hey, you have to leave somehow. I remember my boss was pissed when I told him that. Well, my former boss was pissed when I told him I was leaving, and it's like, well, pay me more. No, okay, well, goodbye. I'm gonna go make 3 times as much as you're paying me a month. Goodbye. But now, speaking of stepping stones, we get to your present day work, which is what you're doing now. Well, what you've done, what people see. You guys have seen his artwork. You guys have like the Scasatria right here, right?
Cool.
So this one is very clean. But again, as I said before, and I'm going to keep bringing this up, it's the background. You can see a little bit of something in the background, and I'm guessing it's the same. As you're explaining your style, is it a ghost like the steampunk Iron Man?
Yeah, you're starting to recognize my tricks. I have to stop explaining how it works. People will stop recognizing the tricks.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. That's a ghost of the quad wings in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
Early on with all my Gundam work, I started when I started doing artwork. I had done a couple Gundam pieces, and I don't know if it was just the way I had done them or the way I was presenting them, but they didn't fly off the shelves. They didn't get any attention. Like, nobody cared. So I kind of...
Oh, she's gone again. It happens. Anyway. This is a daily occurrence with Lex.
Yeah, good old internet. But actually, the very first time I got invited as a guest to a convention was at the Calgary Otafest. So that's the anime convention, right? Otafest?
Yeah.
Yeah, not Otakon. Otakon's a different one. Otafest?
That's like Baltimore.
Yeah. Otafest, yeah.
Otafest, yes. So they invited me out as a guest, and I was super excited. The whole crew running that show, they do a wonderful job. And they wanted to bring me out as a guest, and they wanted me to see if there was any talks or Q&As or anything I wanted to do. So I suggested that I should do a live vector painting and answer questions while I'm doing a painting at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I thought, like, what better to do than maybe a Gundam? So I did this wrecked Gundam Strike, kind of modified. Like I played around with the shoulders and the feet. Like it's not a, yeah, I customed it for sure. And I did it like I think rather quickly, and I just had a lot of fun with it. Like I just, I broke this suit. I posted it online, and then I flew to Calgary, and by the time I landed, it had gotten way more attention than like anything else I'd done in like the last year. Like it went super viral.
One of us.
And then at the show as well, like everybody wanted it, and I couldn't like that. This is one of those things where like it was just something I tried. I had no idea if people were gonna like it or what, but I love Gundams and I like battle damage robots, and it just like caught everybody's attention so much. So this whole series of battle damage Gundams, I kind of kept a consistent format of like kind of the clean backgrounds with the shadow of the Gundam, and that's just the whole series has kind of retained that same format.
Wow.
It's all Odafest's fault that this happened.
Good. Our friends actually. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I know I can say that Derek works on Odafest along with Alina and Sean, who are part of the GTS crew. So, so they get to talk to Odafest. They're part of the Odafest. They're actually with Odafest. They're not just like on the side. No, they're with Odafest. So it's really cool that you say that, because it's like, oh, Odafest. I've never been to it because I got here in 2018 after Odafest happened, and then in 2019, and then 2020 came around, and everybody knows what happened then. But we got Yuvio. Yuvio says, I remember seeing this on IG, but someone stole it. He's talking about the Kshatriya. so there we go. And then we have Magic Mike, aka Channing Tatum, on the chat. What's up, Channing Tatum? And then real quick, I just want to say hi to my mom, who said hello a while ago. So hi, Mom. Thanks for watching. And then we go on to the Zaku in the water, right? So it's battle damaged. This is your style, right? So give a narrative. What's going on?
Yeah, so this is a little more recent, and I'm really wanting to stress the implied narrative of a piece. I want people to look at a painting and just have their minds go spinning of what the story is here. Like, how did it end up here? How long has it been there? Does it work anymore? Like, just what happened before, what's going to happen after? Like, it's just my love of concept art, my love of storytelling. I'm trying to imbue that into a piece like this. I really want your mind to spin with what the story is here. Mm-hmm. That implied narrative, that's kind of the focus of a piece like this.
Do you have your own narrative for it?
I don't really want to say. I want to keep it like,
Fair enough.
He's Christopher Nolan. This. Oh. Cut out.
I had.
Hello. Yeah, we lost him for a little bit.
I have pasture. Oh no.
No, we can hear you now, but you're not moving. So, but it's okay.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you keep going?
There it is. Now you can. Yeah. So, go.
Okay. I think growing up with I had a big pasture, big like forest in my backyard, like 100 acres of just wilderness, and it was always the dream of young Justin to come across a robot in the woods somewhere. I love that story. I love that idea that you might find a huge robot half buried in a hill.
What?
Did you watch like Gundam Wing and stuff when it first came out?
So I think my first introduction and just finding pictures of it on the internet. Here.
Oh,
I think we lost him again.
No.
Hello. There you are.
There you are. You're moving now. Yay. Hey, man.
Okay. Is there anything I can do on my end, like exit out and come back, or am I okay now?
No, you're actually super awesome now. Like we can actually see your every movement. Yeah.
Okay, good. Before I watched Gundam Wing on Toonami, which I could only catch an episode every now and then because I didn't have TV, so I'd have to watch it like visiting at friends kind of thing. So I only caught like snippets here and there, and anime wasn't a big thing in like the town I was growing up in, so nobody was really into it in school. So one day when we came to the big city to do like some back to school shopping or something like that, I snuck away in Blockbuster, like Best Buy, and I bought a VHS tape of Endless Waltz in secret, and
In secret.
watched it after everybody had gone to sleep. Because again, like animes kind of was, like something
lame.
like
You can be
taboo or
honest.
weird, and
Yeah, it was taboo. It was taboo. It was.
yeah, it was, yeah. So I watched Gundam Wing over and over in secret, and then it wasn't until years later that I could get access to the show in its entirety. But I watched Endless Waltz over and over and over again.
So cool. I'm just imagining you like
yeah.
secretive. I have to watch Endless Waltz right now. My parents are asleep.
Like in
Everyone's
your-
asleep.
Like it's something naughty.
Yeah. Because mom,
I
like,
love that.
are you watching Endless Waltz again, son?
I know. Do you know what? As any of us like older weebs know, like Blockbuster had like 2 animes and they were both like porno, basically. So I understand. I understand.
I also love how you mentioned that, being a kid and having the imagination of hoping, especially in like how you grew up, and being able to take walks and stuff, and like maybe one day bumping into one of these things, and being like, oh, it'd be the ultimate dream. Now, real quick, I do want to pay.
As a kid.
I want to pay really close attention to that little reindeer all the way in the back.
Yeah.
The little deer all the way in the back, not reindeer,
Aww.
deer on the arm that's severed over there. It's pretty cool.
That should be its own picture.
It's so cute.
I love that. Oh, I love. I mean, I'm Zaku. What's the word? Biased. That sounds dumb, but
You are. You're obsessed with
I love
Zaku's.
it. I love
okay.
Zaku stuff. There's something so sad. I don't know. Maybe because they're so round. I don't know. It does like make you feel feelings. They're like cute but evil. Aw.
My next piece is that I was just planning out. I wanted to do like a Zaku head that's a coffee shop, like the ring where the eye is, like that's like the counter. I just thought that'd be so cute, like little girl in there serving coffee and a little lineup of people.
Oh my God! Please.
Zaku parts everywhere. So a little more hopeful. Like this looks a little sad. I think a refurbished Zaku head is a coffee shop. Not
That'd
as
be cool.
sad.
And the little girl is Lexi.
For anybody who played Chrono Trigger growing up, I feel like Robo was like a big reason why I have such like feelings for robots.
Also very
In my-
round.
Yeah, right? And I think the Zaku kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
So I give him that personality.
The next image we have here. Now, I know it's not from BioShock Infinite, but it feels like from BioShock Infinite. So where is this piece from?
So every once in a while, my like fine art bone angles, and I want to do something just artsy for art's sake kind of thing, like something a little more abstract, something just pretty. And I think like I'd found some great, like awesome photography of clouds and I really wanted to paint clouds. And so I started this piece just, don't even think, like I didn't know where it was going. I just wanted to draw clouds. And so I drew all the clouds and making them golden with all the rays. I was just having so much fun with that. And then just as I was building it, I was trying to figure out like what could be the focus of this. And then, okay, the ocean. This is a sky at sea. And so I started like building the sea at the bottom, and then I built the little sailboat. I'm like, okay, now I need something huge to like stick in the middle, because I love that small versus big narrative. So the statue in the middle is actually based on the Nike Santa phrase that's in the Louvre. It's a super famous statue. It doesn't have arms or a head. And I think like the story is, and I might butcher this, so this is, look this up if you actually want to know the full story. But an invading army came into the town or the city where this statue is on top of a church. And the first thing the invading army does is they destroy all their statues as kind of a few we won. And so they went to the top of the church or whatever and knocked this statue off the top of the church, and the wings didn't break off. And I think the army then took it as a prize, like, this is, how crazy is it that this was so well made that we dropped it from the top of the building and the wings of this angel didn't snap off. And yeah, it's this huge statue in the Louvre, and I've always thought it looked very pretty. And so yeah, I thought, let's stick this huge pretty statue in the middle of these clouds and call it a day. That's this rambling rationale, that's most of what goes into my pieces. It's just, this would look cooler, this would look prettier, that would be neat. So,
well, that means you're having fun.
Yeah.
That means you're having fun.
Yeah.
But I could see how that's like inspiring, just like the story. And obviously, yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I think most people would recognize the shape and the draping and stuff like that from that guy. But no, I can see.
No.
I feel like this is similar to how I do too. So I'm like, yeah.
Just add these little things here. I'm not an artist, but I love your take and the color choices for the sun and the rays of the sun. It really looks like, I don't know what yellow or orange or whatever color this is, but it's so awesome, especially around the statue itself.
It looks like it's lit up, like it's lit.
Yeah,
from
like
behind.
it's, yeah. Wow.
Very
You should. I don't know if you've ever played BioShock Infinite, but there's a statue in it called Lady Liberty, or I think it is, or something like that. And there's like a statue of like this thing, and it looks like that up on.
I've never played Infinite. I played the first one, and I've seen videos of Infinite, and I'd like to play just to do some art of. I love the Songbird design,
Yes.
and yeah.
Oh my God! Yes.
So that's again like this pressure. I want to play this video game, but it's also the pressure to play it so I can do work based on it.
I see.
This endless loop of like, I can't have fun playing it because I'm doing it for research and work.
I guess it does take the fun out a little.
I'm gonna message you now every day and be like, "Have you played BioShock Infinite? Have you finished God of War? Do your research, man."
I have such a long list of games to play. It just gets longer and longer.
Harder as we get older too.
And then we stray away from Gundam and go straight into Transformers. So, this is this Megatron? Who is this?
Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Oh,
Which
right,
is
the
one of the
cassettes
cooler
and stuff. Yeah, I'm done.
This is one of the ones I know because of the tape decks.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. The
They're
cassettes.
cooler
I'm done.
guys.
So this was the coolest toy as well, because not only was a cool big robot, but then his chest opened and the little cassettes were robots as well. So it was like toys within toys. So it was just, yeah, it was such a cool design. I did an Optimus Prime that kind of mirrors this one. It's also kind of exploded and shattered. And if you look at them both side by side, you'll recognize a lot of the components and parts are kind of, again, recycled and duplicated from one to the other. That's me keeping things consistent, but also kind of cheating a little. Unless I tell you, you'll never know.
You told me, so now I know. And then
No,
I get
it's true. I
scolded.
wouldn't have known. I would have thought these were like 40, 50-hour pieces. Meticulous layers. So I'm kind of...
The Optimus Prime probably took 10, 12, and then this one took like 6 because I had all these great pieces to play with.
The colors in this are great again, too. Again, it looks like it's glowing.
Yeah, you play a lot with highlights and like what's it called? The thing that J.J. Abrams, or what's his name? J.J. whatever.
Blooms? He lens flares for him.
Yeah.
I call them blooms. Blooms of light. So they're these in Illustrator, they're radial gradients. So they're actually like balls of color that goes to transparent, and if you set it to overlay or color dodge, it just kind of like gives this like explosion of saturation wherever you place it.
Yeah.
So as a last step, I go around placing all these little saturation circles, and that's what gives it that like softening and blows it out and makes it look like it's lit behind like that. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Very, very cool. I just got scolded by Sean, who's watching this. He said, "Boo, Jess," because I didn't know it was Soundwave. I'm sorry. I didn't grow up with Transformers, all right? I'm 26. Get off my back.
Is one of the coolest.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have, this is the girl that's studying. She's just listening to lo-fi all the time.
Girl.
This
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch, actually. I think people steal this.
Yeah.
I think all his work just gets stolen.
I'm pretty sure I watched this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
I got
BTS or
there's
something.
a lot of people who want to start up chill radio stations very similar to Study Girl. So I got flooded with messages and requests to use this image on their channel. I said yes to them all as long as they credit me. I think a lot of them get taken down because this is lo-fi is pretty protective of their Steady Girl. And
Yep.
so if another radio station comes up claiming to be them with a very similar image, they don't like it. But this piece was right around when lockdown happened, and I was in my studio a lot, surrounded by my plants. And I wanted to do something just a really complicated room with a whole bunch of elements. And so it was just kind of a bit of a departure from my normal stuff. I wanted to challenge myself for doing a messy bedroom with a lot of stuff going on.
And much more organic than we've kind of seen, more mechanical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Even the girl, right? Like the cat.
Yeah,
And-
we don't see a lot of like people
Yeah.
Oh.
in your work, which is, I mean, probably.
I can see your little whale in there, though.
I put my logo in there, so when it's stolen,
You
can
know.
point at my logo. Yeah.
I see it. It's there. It's just like, what up? And I love the attention to detail on the Spotify interface on there, on her computer. Pretty sure it looks like Spotify interface.
God, I forgot I did that. Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, I did do that. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love looking at your work, and especially this one too that has the sunlight coming through. It's the same kind of like color that you used on the other one. So
Yeah, that bloom. So and this one too, a fun little trick that you guys can play around with, you artists out there, is I did 2 color schemes of the piece. So I finished the piece, and I had one that was all lit up and all yellow, and then I did another one that was all blues and kind of dark. And then I brought them into Photoshop, and I put the dark one on top, and I erased it where the beams are coming through, so it just revealed the really colorful, bright version under it. So what you're seeing is, the window is just illuminating the bright painting underneath, and the dark painting is kind of a mask over top. That helps it makes color a lot easier when you think about it like that, rather than trying to do them both at the same time. I find
that's awesome.
2 versions and then
Over.
Cool.
You're telling me all these secrets, and it's like the magician just, telling me, "Hey, I did this." No, it doesn't take anything away from it, though. This is still, I can see the love that you put into your work. I mean, even the next one, which I'm sure Lexi likes because this is a wing Gundam.
Another one of my boys.
So, sorry, no, go ahead. I just wanted to comment that I can really see and admire your push and drive to work a narrative into your pictures. I really do appreciate that, because as somebody who, I started GTS and I've had a lot of guests here, and I've seen their works with the models themselves, and something that we talk about constantly is they want to give a narrative to their dioramas, or even just the kit itself, where it can tell a story. So it gives me, as a viewer, something to play around with and enjoy, and I can look at this longer and think, really, hey, what is going on? So I kind of feel, I really do appreciate that. It's a really cool thing for you to do. So yeah.
Yeah, the rabbit hole of Gunpla dioramas, like I have spent so much time looking at all the cool dioramas people have built. It's my favorite, one of my favorite things to spend time searching the web for, looking at.
Oh, it's wild. It is wild. Let's even we have a fountain one. I can't remember who's working on it in
Lust.
here. Oh my God, he made a literal fountain.
Yeah, Lust
Crazy.
took a Zaku head and made a fountain out of it, and it's like,
Huh.
what the hell, Lust?
It looks like it's been rotting for like 50 years. It's
Love it,
fucking
yeah.
nuts. It's amazing.
Freddie was wrong. So, Freddie was wrong. Says, I kind of want to make that into a diorama. So I guess he's kind of asking you permission if he can take this as
Yeah,
inspiration.
absolutely.
Go for it,
Just want
Freddie.
to see pictures when it's done. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just tag him on it and be like, hey man, took it from you. So go for it. He said, woo. He's happy. We're gonna.
This piece was actually done for a Gundam store that was gonna be opening in Toronto. This was right when COVID was happening.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I'd love to plug them, but I don't know what's going on with them yet.
Mhm.
But when I do find out if they're gonna end up opening and what's going on, I'll be plugging them on my website and stuff like that. And then they're gonna be using this image as part of their branding and part of their online store and stuff like that. So I was working with another big Gunplay fan who recommended doing this piece. So this wasn't just my concept. This was another big fan coming up with the idea and then me executing.
Man. Well, you did an amazing job. You executed this to perfection. I'll tell you that much. That's really good. So how are we doing with time? We're not keeping you from anything, right?
No, I've got all the time.
Oh,
Good.
cool. All right, cool. Then I don't feel guilty. We can still keep talking about these because I really, believe it or not, I love hearing what you have to say about every single piece and how you came up with it.
Great.
This next one, I feel is more organic. This isn't a Gundam, is it?
No, this is Anubis from Zone of the Enders.
There it is.
The guys who did like Metal Gear Solid, other games. They had Zone of the Enders was a PlayStation 2 launch title, and it had some great mechs in it. And then Zone of the Enders 2 came out a couple years later, and it was also a really fun mech game to play. And I love the designs. They just were different. They were different looking mech designs, and so I've always been a fan of the artwork and the games. And this last year I was working on a graphic novel for a couple months straight, and I had to take a break just to do cool mech. And any mech with wings I'm especially drawn to. So Anubis had been on my list for years, and yeah, so I finally got around to drawing an Anubis frame, and yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I've never played that, but I want it. It's not like so cool.
It's not a big time commitment. Like, I think the first one you can play through in like 4 hours. Like, it's a fairly short game, and the second one isn't a whole lot longer. So you could play both games in a couple sittings without much problem. So
yeah, pretty cool.
Excellent. I'm gonna
And
have to look it up.
and then this next one, this is where we have the Hulkbuster, which is the one that kind of brought everybody in your third year when Marvel people ganged up on you.
yeah, I think this was like one of the cinchers that got me the job. Then like also them seeing the progress of my work, right? Like my kind of goal for every year you see me at a convention, I have at least a dozen to 20 new pieces. So it's almost like an entirely new booth every time you see me. And this really got reinforced when as I kept doing conventions year after year after year, there were some people who didn't do new work. They just had the same booth over and over and over again. And in those first couple of years, they did fine. And then their numbers started to drop and drop and drop, and they got grumpier and angrier and couldn't figure out why they couldn't sell the same 12 pieces every year. And then meanwhile, like, your repeat customers are really, a big chunk of income. So if you always have new stuff for them to look at and get excited by, then you keep those customers.
Yeah.
They see the same thing constantly, they get bored and move on.
Yeah. pretty cool. And then we have I keep talking about Ava because I love Ava so much, and I know everybody in the GTS fam knows how much I love Ava. But this piece is extremely cool. I actually used it for the promos because you got the spine and stuff on the Ava Unit 1. You got Chinny in there, kind of like in the fetal position. It looks sick, man.
Appropriate for him, right?
Yeah. Like, I want this. I need this at this moment in my house.
It makes you feel feelings.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So was this something that somebody asked you to do? Was this a commission, or was this something that just popped in your mind and you're like, I'm doing this?
This was my own. My experience with Evangelion was I saw the movies years ago when the show ended. Then they came out with the movies, and I saw the first two movies, and then it's a convoluted timeline of Evangelion. But I saw the films first, and they were amazing looking and intriguing. And so then I went back and I watched the entire series. And then that 3.0 and the newer movies started to come out, which are just gorgeous. And I love the fact that the mechs are organic, just like that they have bones and blood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I had done the Hulkbuster piece, and I love that. Love exploded view, like blueprints and artwork where you can see the guts of the machine. And so it just seemed like kind of a cool idea to have an exploded view of an Eva unit. It wouldn't just be mechanical, it would also be like organic elements. So drawing the sinew and muscle and bones and skeletal structure
The circulatory
in there,
system.
along with all the mechanical stuff that's intertwined, was just a really fun idea. And I got to debut this piece at the San Diego Comic-Con when I finally got in after 6 years of applying. So it was also special for that reason.
Really
The
cool.
colors are so vibrant in this one. It's a little bit different than the other guys. As far as like the contrast.
Let's make it really colorful, yeah.
It looks like flowers from a distance, which is also kind of amazing.
And then you get close and it's like guts and a skeleton.
Yeah. I was about to say. Oh man. Tall geese, right here.
Also,
Yeah.
Here we go.
So there's a cool story with this one. This was actually commissioned from a fan in Chicago who had been buying from me for years. And if you look at the beam cannon, there's the numbers or the letters on the beam cannon are actually like his initials and his date of birth. Forget. So it's very much like his little signature.
Oh,
got to implement on there. So it's the way we worked it out is he didn't have to pay too much for the commission because I was able to sell it at shows and stuff like that, which he understood. Like then I could make kind of my time and money back selling it to other people, and then his artwork gets to spread around. But his little Easter egg will forever be on there. So he's got his name or his initials stamped on the beam cannon. So yeah, he was really good to work with, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It's gorgeous.
No, gorgeous, literally. This is the one everybody tags me in.
Yeah.
Like, did you see this? I've seen it. It's awesome.
Oh man. And
Still
then,
haven't
Oh,
done
and
the
this endless
2 though. I
waltz.
still need to do the 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every version of Tall Geese is amazing. I love. I actually haven't seen this one, the Endless Waltz one, the first one, on this slide. At least I think that's what's happening here.
well, on this one?
Week 0.
Oh no, yeah. You haven't seen that one?
I haven't seen that one in real life. It's so beautiful.
Okay, well,
Also makes me feel feelings because of the scene.
yeah. Tonga's is just nice looking suit. It really is. Like the helmet, I think, is what really puts it aside from everything else, right? Which is very emblematic for it. And then we have your haunted house. Well, there we go. We have the Alien Queen.
You have the Alien Queen. Yeah, it was 4 years since the last one, so.
You got the twin.
I grew up watching way too many horror movies, probably way before I was supposed to. I think Tremors was one of my favorite movies as like a young child.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, super cool.
I just see myself walking into his house and dying immediately. Like, not even, like, you got Jeepers Creepers up there, just kind of looking at you, and you got Nosferatu, you got Predator. Is that the guy from Hellraiser? I think it is, right? He's holding the...
Yes, he's hanging out in the window.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I tried to... There isn't too much rhyme or reason. Like, it's not the most famous monsters or anything like that. It's the ones that mean the most to me.
Yeah.
So one of the ones that usually throws people off is, like, the big tadpole monster walking down the stairs in, like, the main part of the house.
Is that Korean
that's
movie?
from a Korean horror movie. Yeah, The Host. The guy who directed Parasite. Yeah. It's an amazing film, and I got it from, like, Blockbuster when I was in college, and I watched it over and over and over. Like, I kept re-renting it, like, every couple of months because I just loved it. And, yeah. So I just... film. Recommend The Host.
Yeah. Yep. It's an awesome movie.
This is like different, little bit of a different style too. A little more like illustration, which is really cool.
A little more storybook, I think. Like.
Yeah, I could see it on it. And then you have the guy from Pan's Labyrinth from Guillermo del Toro right there.
Yeah.
I think.
Thin Man. Pale Man.
Pale Man, yeah, there it is, with the eyes.
Pale Man, yeah.
That is one of the coolest fucking designs for anything scary as a kid, especially with, when I watched that movie. I mean, I wasn't like 2 years old, but I was like, what the hell is this? I think it's scary. Like, I can sense why any kid watching this is gonna have nightmares. So.
Yeah, that's not a kid's film.
No, it's not a kid's film at all. Like, no, not at all. Not for kids.
Yeah, I'm mildly traumatized over that one too.
Yeah. No. But no, awesome. We're gonna keep going. So this is where I added the Discord screenshot for our viewer, Droncy. He said, "Can you tell our guest that his Talgies 3 illustration was the peg for my build? That I couldn't have thought of finishing it without his piece. I really love that thing. Like it if I could afford it, I'd have that shipped over here and plastered on my wall. This one, holy shit, it's majestic." So
thanks.
Yeah, so Droncy.
See?
Yeah, no, he loves it. I mean, he loves it. He's like, you have to tell him. I'm like, okay, I will. Don't worry about it. There you do, man.
Thanks so much.
And then, here we go.
This is where I was, you guys. This is the Talgies.
Okay.
I skipped that first Talgies and went straight to this guy, and that's the Endless Walls piece. That's right.
Yeah. Shelter.
Alexis. Yeah.
It's
so good.
I think it's one of the most stolen ones too, maybe?
Which one? The
I've
Shelter?
never seen that one.
No, the Talgies
Talgies.
one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
the
one's
Talgies.
been stolen quite a few times. It is kind of nice having a distinct style. I usually get, like, I don't find them. I get other people find them and then come back and tell me, like, hey, somebody on Redbubble is selling your Gundams. And the thing that always disappoints me most about that is that the versions they're selling, the stolen versions artwork online is always low res.
Ugh.
So they're taking what I posted on DeviantArt or ArtStation or whatever, putting it on a t-shirt or a poster, and it's gonna print like a blurry mess. But you can't see that when you're buying it online, and you don't know. It's hard to tell that it's not the actual artist, right?
Yeah.
Some people they don't realize. And so what bugs me the most is they're getting an inferior, crappy-looking version of my artwork. Then they might associate that with me, like, oh, he sells shitty versions of his art.
Mm-hmm.
You know? That's what bothers me about people stealing art is they're selling not printable versions of it. Yeah. Printing it.
Curse those people. They're terrible.
Yeah, that sucks. That does suck because it's true. It could get back to you and make.
Yeah, I mean, it's his brand, right? It's his company. It's his baby, right? He has to protect his name. But you definitely protected your name with the Pokemon. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, I love this piece so much. I know Sean hates when I say it, but I think Pokemon is better than Digimon. And I grew up with Pokemon. I can see you, Lexi, because Lexi's a huge Digimon person too. But when I saw this one, Pokemon just to me, like, I grew up with it, right? Like, it is good, all right? And it's just so cool. And the attention to detail, like, how long did this take, man?
Yeah, when I started, I had the best of intentions of keeping track of my hours because I knew this was going to be long one, and then I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to guess, I'm thinking around 175 hours
What
for this
the-
piece.
Is it
Yeah,
humongous,
this one.
hey?
It's humongous, yeah. So my printer now has a standard sheet that's 12 by 24, so it's a lot longer. It's about like that big. I have one sample. I wish I brought it with me. I could have shown you guys, but so I did this piece because now I have access to this nice long format print, and so this was kind of the piece I was building to use that paper size. Growing up, again, like I had Pokemon on my Game Boy. I had Pokemon Blue, and I had to keep it a secret because, again, Pokemon was not something that I was not supposed to be into, or
It was the devil's.
not something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people, I would get made fun of at school if I tried to, get excited
Like
about it, kind of
Pokemon?
thing.
Where did you go?
Yeah, yeah.
Helltown, did you?
Yeah, like what in the?
I feel like everyone was jealous of Pokemon. I lived in Fernie at the time. That's pretty.
It was a tiny town, and if it wasn't hockey, then yeah.
I see. Okay.
But
No time for
yeah,
Pokemon.
so I played Pokemon Blue for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
I didn't have a charger. I didn't have an adapter to plug in, so I'd wear out the batteries, and then I'd have to scour the house for more batteries, and so all the remotes suddenly went dead.
Yep.
This is a very familiar tale.
Were you me?
Like, oh yeah.
Until Nintendo was like, "Hey, rechargeable SP, yes. Backlight, yes. No more
I
stupid."
know, I didn't have a backlight either.
Yeah. You had like a little flashlight, or you bought it from a Scholastic bookstore. Those little
Yes.
clip-on ones.
Oh
How
yeah.
we suffered in the olden days.
And now kids with their iPhones and Androids and stuff just
Oh
being
my
able to play.
god.
No, but a question:
So spoiled.
what is your favorite Pokemon? Because this is our all first gen. So which one's your favorite first gen Pokemon?
Oh man.
This should be a question to everyone always.
It really kind of like
Yeah.
you can analyze a person by what Pokemon they say. You know.
Yeah, like my gut reaction is to say Bulbasaur because that was always my go-to. I wanted Haunter. I think Haunter like became my favorite. Or God, I feel somebody's gonna roast me in the chat, but I forget the guy with the spoon. Blanking on his name.
Abra?
Oh, Abra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was Kadabra.
It was
That
Kadabra, the one, like the
Or maybe
evolution.
Alakazam.
Alakazam, yeah,
Yeah,
one of those.
Yeah, Abra and Kadabra. I love those guys.
Yeah, they were-
Yeah, I've been
Abracadabra.
staring at them for 170 hours, but I have not been looking at their names and reminding myself of their names. Some really lazy designs in first gen too,
Yeah.
like the was it the Taurus, the bull that just has 3 tails? Like, there wasn't a whole lot of imagination in that one.
But that was the beauty of it. That was-
Oh, they're
Yeah.
still lazy. The ice cream cones and the
Like-
keys and crap now.
oh, man.
Inconsistent. I would say like it's a very inconsistent design, language, and Bible of Pokemon. Like it's just all over.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I love it so much. It's just like there's something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like a pair of keys,
Yeah.
there's a Pokemon for you.
Yeah, like there. I like how so you said Bulbasaur. Wow.
That's your
'Cause
starter.
I think that's who I always started with. Yeah, it was
Wow.
always my starter. Yeah.
All right. Wait, how about you, Lexi? I've never asked you. I think, or maybe I have.
Yeah, I think you have. I had Pokemon Red, so
Charmander.
I always started with Charmander.
Yeah, and I'm a Squirtle guy. I mean, the
There we
Squirtle,
go. All-rounded team we got here.
All 3, yeah.
the Squirtle squad is one of the best episodes. Okay, the glasses and stuff. And of course you got the Wing Gundam over here, the Wing Zero with the beam just blowing up.
Yeah.
Danielle, my sister-in-law, is watching, and she wants to say hi to Justin.
And you know,
There-
She's like, your hosting is very cute. Thanks, Danielle. I love you.
Is Daticus Prime that? No, right? Or yes?
Yeah, that's him. Is he commenting?
He said Magikarp or bust. So can you please block him right now? Just go over there, cut his internet out.
I absolutely love that concept that the Magikarp evolves into like
Gyarados?
Yeah, like just that idea that like the crappiest, useless little flopping fish.
Splash.
If you put time into it, it's gonna turn into this monster.
Yep. They get Dragon's Rage and Outrage and shit like that, and it just beats the hell out of everything. Yeah, yeah.
It is like that classic story, the hero story that we all love. The underdog.
Yeah.
Oh man. So now we're gonna go on to cons and expos. A little bit of like quick story of how you actually told me to switch these around. So for those who don't remember, actually, real quick, I have one question because I kind of like reading the chat. Uvio says Ava's cool. Justin, do you plan on doing your own take on Shin Godzilla?
Oh.
Sorry, Shin Godzilla is like the newest iteration, or is Shin the more classic?
Where's Sean? I need Sean. Sean, where are you?
Which one's it? Oh no, wait, Mecha Godzilla. That's what I want to see.
Let me ask Sean. I don't know if he's here. I think he went to Dairy Queen or something. He told me. He messaged me in the chat. He's like, hey, I'm going to Dairy Queen.
Let's just say with confidence that Shin Godzilla is the newest iteration with Godzilla, and then if we're wrong, never mind. So yeah, Shin Godzilla, the newest Godzilla. I quite enjoyed the the Bryan Cranston, the new Godzilla, and Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla, the King of Monsters. I haven't seen the new one with Godzilla versus Kong. I have done a Godzilla piece a couple years back, and it was mostly destroyed buildings, and then just kind of like the silhouette of Godzilla kind of like faint in the background. So it's definitely on my radar. I do plan on watching the new Godzilla versus Kong, and depending on how that goes, it'll probably dictate what happens next. If I do something, it'll probably be Godzilla by himself. I don't want to do a Godzilla versus Kong. And if I do a Mecha Godzilla, I'd like to do him being constructed. He's like half built. You know, like that was always something, and maybe you can tell me if there is one of these. I always wanted a Gundam series that was mainly focused on them just building the suit. Less so about like the suit actually going into battle and being badass. I want to see like a Gundam where it's just all about the construction and from concept to building. They had a little bit of it in Thunderbolt, but I always wanted to see more of the nuts and bolts of building a Gundam.
Honestly, maybe Char's counterattack when they're building the new Gundam. What's it?
I think they
Stardust.
I've seen that, yeah.
Stardust Memory, I think. Yeah.
But a lot, and there's like prequels and such, like the origin and whatever. But yeah, you're right. It would be very interesting to kind of see the concepts come to. I'd like something like that for Iron Blooded Orphans. Actually, it would be really cool to go back and like
for the frames, yeah, for the Calamity War.
Yeah, to see like how they, like the background of all those suits. I think would be really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that would be rad.
That'd be super awesome. DG Gunpla, aka Sean, says Shin is the most recent Toho movie that came out in 2016. He says, and then Yuvia says Shin is the newest iteration by the creator for Evangelion. So yes. So yeah, so that's what it is. But yeah, so it's up there, and I'm sure that the moment you come out with the Shin Godzilla, I know Sean's gonna end up buying like 20 of those. So there you go. So going back to the expo, so this is the beginning of your booth, right?
Yeah, well, this is when I'm still working in video games. It's when I still have a full-time job. This is early. This was an early Calgary show, and this was a really important one for me because I poured so much work and prep into this. Like a convention for an artist is like the tip of the iceberg. There is hundreds of hours of work that goes into those 3 days, right? You see the booth at the convention. And for years for 2 or 3 years, I've been making a little bit of money at conventions, and it had been kind of building as something or more of a focus. But this particular year at Calgary,
we lost him. We lost him for a little bit. We'll just wait for the lag to kind of cut off for him. He might be back soon. I mean, like, we can hear him a little bit.
Dance until.
We'll wait. We'll wait for you when you're back. But yeah, no. So I'm pretty sure what he's saying is that this is the one that he poured all his heart into, and this is the one in Calgary where he decided to. Oh, there he is. He's back. I can see him moving. I can see him breathe.
Back.
Hey.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, can you hear me now? All
Yes.
good?
Yes. We're good.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. This was just kind of the first convention where I did well enough that I started to consider leaving my full-time job to do this full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And it had never really crossed my mind that that was ever an option, to quit my full-time job and do my own thing. Like, that had never really entered my brain until this convention, and just the amount of work I was able to move and just the reactions of customers to the work. It really kind of started the spark that became the fire that, like, led to me making my own company and doing this full time. So yeah, that was the beginning.
So cool. So cool. Such an inspiring story, honestly.
Yeah,
I
because
think for the artist.
yeah, it takes a lot of, as we say in Spanish, or as cojones to do it. Like, actually go out there and say I'm doing this, and the
And so much work and dedication
yeah.
and focus.
Don't want to make it sound like I took too big of a leap or was too brave. Basically, I was doing conventions on the side for, like, this year I did a whole bunch of conventions. I went from doing like 2 or 3 to doing like 10. And after that year of like doing 10, I sat and did the math and realized how well I did. And then it was not as much of a leap as more of a sidestep. I realized I was making more money on my side gig than at my full-time gig.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just
That's the dream.
put my effort into where I'm making more money.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't a leap. It was just me. I did some math and realized where I should be putting my focus.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
It was
cool.
it was a lot of work getting there.
Yeah,
we
the
can-
years for
Yeah.
that, but so cool. How are you finding, like, not going to conventions and stuff this year? How have you kind of adjusted your business, I guess?
So the plan with conventions was always, when I started doing it full time, I really dived in pretty hard and was doing quite a few. I think at my height I was doing like 34 events a year. So I was doubling up some weekends. I was in like a different city pretty much every other weekend of the year. Like, there's only 52 weeks in a year. 30 of those I was in a different city at a booth selling my artwork. And then when I was home, I was basically prepping for the next show or trying to make new artwork for the next show. So it was very very full-time, very involved. So my plan was always eventually to scale back and to lost Lexi again.
Yep. It happens. She'll be back.
See, I wish I did that instead of freezing.
Hey, Lexi.
But my plan was to always scale back and to then rely on all the fans I had made in all the cities and all the goodwill, like all those followers that I gained selling my artwork in all the cities. I would be able to kind of use that fan base for when my new things came out, when my new books came out, when my new artwork would come out. I would have this built-in customer base to pay attention to that and potentially buy it. And so that was always the plan. And then COVID kind of just made that what had to be the plan. So suddenly I went from 30 conventions a year to 0. So I had to pivot pretty hard and basically move everything onto my online store and put more focus into that. And then luckily I feel very, very lucky that I'd been able to visit so many cities and meet so many awesome people. They found me. They found my store, and online selling of my artwork has done really well for me. And like, I'm not terrified of what's happening next. I'm able to sustain and make work and put it out there, and people are grabbing it. So I feel very, very lucky that that's what's happened to me since the event.
Since the event. I love that.
But I'm very much looking forward to when conventions are back in full swing. I know it's going to be a while and probably a slow process getting back there. But now I'm really excited about, I've had all this time to flesh out and build up my online store into such a better thing than it was before. So now having that in conjunction with being able to do events, I feel like I'm going to come out of this way stronger than I went into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, granted, a lot of bad things happened because of the event, right? But a lot of good things came out of it. You know, you got to focus on that side of your business, and it's something that you're kind of fleshing out a lot more. You know, for a lot of people, it was just it was kind of a push needed to kind of adapt and change or do things that you never thought that you were going to be able to do, right? Like even for us here on GTS came about because of the event, and it started literally a year ago, March. So it's like,
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So it's really cool to see what people in some way have adapted to because of the event. That's what we're gonna call it from now on here on GTS. The event. We're not gonna say the words, right? The event.
What do they call it in Marvel? Like the reset or the
The snap.
or yeah, whatever.
Snap?
Yeah, we gotta make this sound cool.
Or the blip. Was it the blip?
The
Maybe.
blip, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Oh
that.
my god.
The blip. Yeah, it's the blip. Yeah, it's the blip.
Who knew?
And then we have a picture. This isn't a convention one, but this is a studio, right? This was your studio space.
We're on the studio,
Yes, we're on
bikes and the people, and
36. Yeah, bikes and the people and
36. Yeah. Yeah. So this is my studio in Winnipeg. I have a studio downtown that I share with Gregory Kamichuk, who goes by the artist GMB Kamichuk. And he's worked on a lot of the books that he's done writing on some of the books that I've done, and he does a lot of his own books. And he was doing conventions full time as well.
Mhm.
So we were at the point where we had a lot of inventory, and we were, traveling a lot with just suitcases and inventory, and we had a lot of things going on. And so it just made sense to get a studio space. And I feel really lucky again to be in Winnipeg, where space is pretty affordable. I have 1,000 square feet in like the heart of the city, is something I would never be able to have in like Vancouver, Toronto, or Calgary. It would just be too expensive. So that's one of the nice things about Winnipeg. And it's making me sad looking at this because we've since the event, we haven't been able to be there together, right? We kind of take turns. He's there for a week, I'm there for a week. I go there to fulfill orders and do stuff, but we haven't been in there working in so long. And we would spend the whole day brainstorming ideas and story breaking things for graphic novels, and just bouncing ideas back and forth. And we hope to be back in there together again soon, but for now it's mostly just kind of where I ship all my stuff from right now.
Wow. I mean, it looks like a cool space. I can see in the background, all the way in the corner, I can see that image of like the gun. I think it's the RX-78-2 stabbing Azaku. I know Kevin Hong has that one hanging up in his room. In his in his Gunpla room, or I think it's maybe in his little area. But I love that. This is so awesome. One of our followers says, Noel Mecca says, how much would a commission of a Dark Souls pick cost?
I have a Dark Souls piece. It's Gravelord Nito facing off somebody in the I forget the armor. You have a Dark Souls piece, but
The Havel armor?
Fire Me, Havel, that's it. The Havel armor. Commissions are always like, I don't have like set prices. It's every request I talk it out with the person, discuss different things, and it can be very different if it's just for you. If it's a personal commission, that's one price, and if it's something that we can work on together and I can make a slightly different that then I can go on and sell at conventions, then I can make my money there, and so it can be a lot cheaper. So that format seems to work for a lot of people, and it works for me. But anyways, if you email me stuff at chasingartwork at Gmail, what questions or commissions or whatever, I will get back to you, and we back and forth before anything happens. So I'm happy to discuss.
Pretty cool. Do you ever get people telling you that they'll pay you an exposure?
I'm around that point where I was talking about where people stop wanting you to draw like somebody else and draw in your style. Yeah. That's about when people stop the exposure line because they realize that you might be past that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
See, yeah, I think the last time that happened, I pointed out that I had more followers than they did. So, if anything, I should be getting paid for their exposure.
Yeah. That's right.
Just hear all these scary stories as an artist, you know?
Oh God, yeah. It's I think everybody has to go through that a little bit. And early on, when stuff like that would happen, I would never do it unless I could kind of kill two birds with one stone. If I was going to do something for free or almost free, I would have to be able to use it over here for something else as well. Like if I'm going to do this painting for this person for exposure, I'm also going to make prints of it to sell at conventions, or I'm going to be able to do something else with it. So I never did it just for that. I always tried to work it into some other project or some other avenue as well. I mean, yeah.
That's a good way to think about it.
For sure. And then this last picture before we head on to your graphic novels. I told you yesterday I picked it because you were in Chicago, and that's where I'm from. So I kind of wanted to ask, what exactly were you doing at the Mac store? Like, what was going on here?
My very first convention in the States was a Wizard World Chicago Con, and this was, I want to say 2009 was the first time I went over, and it's you there as well?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I left Chicago in 2012, I think, 2013. So I was there.
Yeah, from 2009 until I want to say like 2014, I was doing that show, and then eventually I started doing C2E2 instead. But for years I did the Chicago Wizard Con, and somebody who bought my stuff for a couple of years worked at the Mac store and reached out after the convention and said, for next year, would you want to come in and do a like a live painting and demonstration at the Mac store? So it was the Lincoln Park Mac store. They set me up with a Cintiq and Illustrator, and they had a microphone, and a crowd of people watched me work on a page of my upcoming graphic novel. So I was getting work done at the same time that I got to do a live painting in Chicago. And my mom was with me at that, so she got to take pictures of everything, and so she took that picture and took videos and stuff.
Aww.
It was a super fun experience, and I loved it.
Aww.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So cool. And then speaking of graphic novels and the work that you were doing there, you kind of mentioned yesterday that, you know, and even right now, like, you had to gravitate to something else once the event happened. So this is Dragon Nanny. Right?
Dragon Nanny, yeah.
So cute.
This is something that you did on Kickstarter. You were kind of, I think your hand was played to go to Kickstarter or something like that.
Yeah. So my experience with making books was when I was still in video games. I got hired by a author from Chicago to make a kids book called Quackers Wants to Fly, and it was this cute little book about this duck who goes around the pond and asks all these flying creatures how they learned how to fly. How did the dragonfly learn how to fly? How did the owl learn how to fly? And everybody has slightly different answers, but it's mainly you have to be patient. Things come with time, and it's really cute little story.
Aww.
And it was the first book that I'd ever really worked on. And I had never really planned on working in books, but it was a cool opportunity, and like, yeah, sure, I'll make a kid's book. And at the end, I had such a good time working with the author that I started kind of wanting to make my own books, but I didn't know anything about the whole scary world of publishing. And when Quackers was done, the author found a publisher who was willing to take it on. And so one day I'm at work and I get a phone call from this publisher asking me for my files. I was ready for this because I'm a graphic designer. So I have an InDesign file full of print-ready files, and I have everything set up with bleeds and crop marks and just all ready to go, right? It's print ready, ready for the press.
Mm-hmm.
And the publisher, who's also printer, she was a one-woman studio publisher. She didn't know what InDesign was, and she didn't want a PDF. She wanted everything as JPEG, so she could put it back together in Microsoft Publisher, because that was what she knew how to do, and she wanted to rework it. Mm-hmm. There was a whole bunch of red flags going up that, oh God, like she doesn't know what she's doing. At this point, the author had already signed contracts, and I was just a hired artist. I had no say in what happened to the project. So I had to give this lady all my files, and I'm going to show you guys the book. I have it here. Just one sec.
Oh. What happened? Wait, is this?
It turned out okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on?
Okay, so I don't think I have the actual. Okay, so this woman, she did the cover. So she took my image and then she used 2 different fonts and then did this wonderful back cover that has all these different colors and all these different fonts as well. And some Comic Sans in there.
No.
And then this was supposed to be full bleed, right? This is supposed to go to the edge of the page, but of course it doesn't do that anymore. And this paper is one step above newsprint, like it's the flimsiest thing. And then the kicker was, this is printed out of order. So this first page is supposed to be this really nice spread of Quackers at the Pond. It's now split over 2 pages, so it's not a spread anymore. It's on 2 different pages. So the book arrives, and one of the things I had worked out with the author was, when this book is done, I'm going to buy a bunch of artist copies to then sell at conventions and get into Canadian bookstores, because she was based in Chicago. So I was going to be the Canadian arm of getting Quackers out there. Mm-hmm. And when this book arrived, I had to make the phone call and tell poor Sue that I can't be associated with this train wreck of a book. I don't want my name on it, like I had to step away. So fast forward a year and a half, 2 years later, Sue has lawyered up to get the rights to Quackers back from this publisher, because the publisher didn't do a single thing with the book. She didn't get it into bookstores. She never set up an event. She basically took the author's money and sat on it. So Sue had to threaten legal action, and then we got the rights back to the book back, and then I took it and I printed it here in Winnipeg, and now we have a beautiful Quackers that is actually on its second printing. And we've done a second book in the series called Ollie and the Missing Who's. So there's 2 books in the series now, and it's printed in order, and it's printed on nice paper, and the cover only has 1 font on it instead of 3.
Holy God! Like,
I'm glad this had a happy ending, because it's gonna haunt me.
It has a happy ending. Quackers is now what it's. There's only 4 of these that exist in Canada, and I have them all, and I keep them to tell this story with.
They're locked away.
That was a roller coaster of emotions. I just felt it. This whole story rolls into how my business part of my books works. So I was very disenchanted with publishers and how that whole thing worked. Mm-hmm. So what a publisher does for you when you have a book is they get it places, right? They get it into bookstores, get it into distributors, they get it your customers. Mm-hmm. But I realized I'm going to event every weekend where I from. Excuse me, am I back?
You're back. Yes.
Oh, now I'm back. Okay.
Yes.
I realized I had a distribution model in comic conventions that was way better than what a publisher could offer me, because I had direct access to my customers. I didn't have to give a huge chunk of my book profits away to, you know, the distribution and the stocking and the bookstore. I could sell it in person. Instead of getting, you know, a couple dollars per book, I could get a whole chunk of change. So that became my book seller model over the next couple of years. Was and 10 books later, when I started my company, I came out with Cassie and Tonk, was my first graphic novel. Then a couple of years later, I did Rust and Water, and then Dragon Nanny was something that was planned for 2020, regardless of what happened. But because I wasn't going to be able to sell it in person like I had been in the past, Kickstarter offered me that venue of how to get into people's hands and still retain all the control. It still got to, it still was all like, I printed the books, they're in my studio, I'm the one who ships them off, and you know, I get to keep that chunk of change without giving a chunk to all those other hands along the way. So that was kind of my big pivot for graphic novels with COVID, and it was really cool. Like I'd always wanted to do a Kickstarter. It never felt like I had the time to put one together and run one properly with conventions going on. So the only reason this Kickstarter happened was because conventions were put on hold, and I was able to dedicate the time to building a proper campaign and running it.
Cool.
And there you go. And now you have. This was for Dragon Nanny specifically.
Dragon Nanny was Kickstarter, yeah. All my other books were basically, as soon as I printed them, I started bringing them to shows and started selling them.
Yeah.
Dragon Nanny was the only book where, you know, if I print a couple thousand books, then what? I can't even get them into bookstores because most bookstores are closed right now. They don't want to be accepting new
inventory,
content, right? Or new product, really.
Yeah. Wow. And what is the focus of like your novels? Like, when you say graphic novels, are they for children? Are they for everybody? Like, how does that work?
I often compare them to like a Pixar movie kind of thing. Like they're all ages. There are some scary bits. There are some more adult bits. Like some Cassie and Tonk is an awfully sad one. Like it deals with death and losing a friend. And at the time that we were making it, Greg and I just wanted to make a story that would really tug on the heartstrings and potentially make people cry. We didn't realize how well it would work. We made a lot of people cry.
It's like,
that's good writing.
Kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, that's success.
It's success, but it's like you feel bad, but you're like, but I did what I needed to do. Wow. So most of my stories, so the kind of the series, Cassie and Tonk, Rust and Water, Dragon Nanny, are all in the Silent Guardians universe. And they all revolve around usually a robot and a human counterpart, or a mermaid counterpart, or a robot and a dragon going on an adventure. And as an illustrator, I do work with a writer, Gregory Kamichuk, but he comes in kind of at the end of the project to add the words. And I try to tell this story completely visually without any words. And when it works without any words, that's when you add the little bit of words on top. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's so awesome.
Very, very cool.
I'm glad that you made the connection to Silent Guardian, because it makes it's the PlayStation 4 game, right? No, wait.
I know what you're thinking of, but
no,
it's your universe, right?
No, Silent Guardian. What's the one with the pet? The one that you're like supposed to walk it around and like.
Oh, the Shadow of the Colossus guys, right? The Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian. Sorry, you're right. It's not Silent Guardian. Yeah, now I feel dumb. I'm just gonna stop talking and be like, just don't say anything. But
no, I like that they're
if you
linked
like
to
this
the universe, though, right?
Yeah, they're all in the same universe, but there's no crossovers yet.
It's like your own.
I think Marvel universe thing eventually I want to do.
That'd be so sick, man. And the drawings look so beautiful. But I think I'm more enamored with Cassie and Tonk, the little guy right there. Like, he's so cute. He's so, for a big robot, he looks like a big.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's like a 15-foot tall robot, but he's trying to make him cute.
You nailed the cuddly part. I think like that's something
My heart hurts just looking at it. Now that I know.
Well, luckily, that book is out of print, so I haven't reprinted it. So it's not available for sale right now because they're all gone. They've all sold.
Well, that's good.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You won't cry. You won't cry, Lexi, because you can't buy it right now. Okay. Man.
We'll have to get it when we can be in a convention.
Yes. No, it looks really nice, and it does have that Pixar look. So, I'm telling you, Disney's gonna be like, hey, you wanna sell me the rights to this story, and we're gonna make it.
That's always a bit of the goal too. Like I'd love to make like have my name on a film or a video game, but as an individual, it's really you can't really do that. But if I make a stellar graphic novel that takes off, chances of a Cassie and Tonk movie happening are a million times better than if I just have a screenplay and try to get it taken somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
I have a proven product of a graphic novel that people like and people react to.
Yeah.
Then that can get you in the door of, let's make this a show, let's make this a game, let's make this a movie. Like, that's, as an individual, that's, I feel, the best way to fulfill that dream of making a movie or a show. Or
well, it could happen, right? I mean, look how far you've come, right? Like, it could happen.
Product.
Remember us. Remember us when we're out there in the red carpet.
I voiceover.
Oh, true. She does voiceover. She's a voice actor, so yeah. There you are. You're Cassie now.
I will keep you in mind. Yeah.
So chasing artwork, your website here. I took a screenshot so people know. You guys can visit his website, chasingartwork.com. You guys can check out what he has in stock right now. The Horror House, the 3-pack mystery prints, Dragon Nanny graphic novel is available, so that's good.
It is.
Is it gonna make me cry?
No, that one won't make you cry. It's a great little adventure. It's like Wall-E meets Land Before Time. Be how I would
That's
describe
gonna make me cry.
Land Before Time made me cry. Yeah, like I was about to say, what are you talking about? Like this is gonna. This is tears galore here.
Not quite as sad.
Okay, good. I like that better, to be honest.
There's a lot of heart in it, though. I think that book like helped my mental health during lockdown and staying indoors. Being able to like build that world and spend time in it with the characters was great. So there's a lot of, it's like a 104-page graphic novel that could probably be like a 45-page book, but really chew the scenery and explore the world. So I really, had fun.
That's how long it is? It's 140 something pages?
104.
Wow.
Actually, here, I'll show you.
I love how he just has it there. He's like, here we go.
Let's see.
He just starts reading it in like a nice voice.
Wow, beautiful.
It's got like a foil.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh my god, to see like on such beautiful
Story.
you know what you're doing with your publishing.
It's like you're not that person who fucked up your art.
Holy, it looks beautiful. The paper choice is so like the colors are rich.
And then every book comes with an illustration.
Wow. So cool. That's fucking sick. A personalized touch and everything. Like
so cool.
Uvio says looks like. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. Uvio says looks like I am going to stop buying Gunpla and invest into chasing artwork. There you go, man.
I should mention I'm doing a whole big store. I have a bunch of new product, a bunch of new artwork. I just finished the Strike Freedom, and I have a GPO 2A. It's about to go up on the store April 23rd. April 23rd is when kind of the new store gets launched. So if you guys want to check back then, that's when there's going to be like 5 times as much stuff available. I've got it all timed to launch on that date.
On the 23rd of April.
23rd of April.
There we go. 23rd of April.
Which is when Calgary Comic-Con would happen.
You're breaking our heart over here, man. Now we're gonna start crying. You promised I wouldn't cry, and now.
No, it's sad.
That's okay. We'll have prints and books to hold us over.
Yes. April 23rd, guys. Definitely check out his website on that date so you guys can see all the stuff he's gonna have and buy a bunch of things from him. The book itself is something that I'm interested in. So awesome. And then remember that he also has a podcast real quick. So Super Pulp Science. I was listening to it earlier today. I listened to like 3 different episodes. And it was so cool. Really chill. It's an hour long. So play it in the background. Listen to Justin talk about anything with Gregory, right?
Gregory Kmichuk and me, and we usually have guests. We have a lot of other artists from different conventions, and just talk about making arts and telling stories and kinds of stuff.
Yeah, dude, go check it out. And it's got really good production, really good production. So it's easy to listen to. It's
Dan,
really
our producer, he's great.
Yeah,
That's Dan.
So go check it out on Spotify. It's like everywhere. After I listened to like one episode, I looked it up again, and like it just comes up to a bunch of places. So you can find it anywhere. I listen to it on Spotify because that's what I use as my stream option. But yeah, definitely go check it out. Super Pulp Science, and then you'll see the little. Did you guys draw those guys or?
It's Gregory's artwork. That's I'm like the co-host. It's his baby. I'm just the long-suffering co-host, as he refers to me.
Yes, he says it all the time.
Yeah.
Every time he's like, my long-suffering co-host, just in the beginning. Very awesome. No, but
Alexi, are you ready to be a long-suffering
I was
co-host?
just thinking that. I was like, oh no.
this is you now, Lexi.
Like some kind of premonition. No, I've had so much fun.
Don't scare her away, Justin. And I kind of wanted to end his segment with his mission statement for chasing artwork, which you can find on this page again. And it says, well, actually, I'll let you read it because this is yours. It's not mine. So.
Right. Yeah. As long as you're practicing, you'll always be improving. Your best piece will always be the next one. Keep chasing the artwork.
There you go. Like it's
Good.
so good. Like it really like. I'm not just saying it because that's not how I do things. It's just, it really does speak to me because it's like your best piece will be the next one. So instead of focusing on this one being the best, I know that my best is yet to come, which is.
Yeah. I think it's just it's a universal truth. It doesn't matter whatever the medium or hobby or whatever. If you work at it, you get better. It's just how it is. So put the time in and improve.
Yeah. No, awesome. Beautiful mission statement that you have there. And honestly, thank you for joining us today. Seriously.
Thank
Words.
you.
Thanks for having me. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, it's good.
No, it was awesome.
Worthy.
We're going to
It was
have.
so fun.
Yeah,
That's
we're going
good.
to steal you back one of these days. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a new segment. I'm just saying it real quick. That's going to be coming out in May. I won't announce it yet because our patrons are the only ones who know what it is. But for that, it'll be cool. It'll be cool. We'll talk to you about it some other time, so we don't announce it to everybody right here. But for everybody else, remember that this Wednesday, so in a couple of days, we have Machine Dramond review coming out on our YouTube page, which has been reviewed by Sean. I know Lexi wishes she had reviewed the Dramond, Machine Dramond, but this is. But it's gonna be super cool. This kid is super awesome. I got to see it because, of course, he lives with me. So, and it's huge. It's like the size of the Master Grade Sauce Beaver cod. It's like, whoa, it's huge. It's awesome. So stick around for that. Remember to, go to YouTube and subscribe and click the little notification bell thing that people say. I'm really bad at that. I'm just really bad at kind of promoting myself.
Subscribe.
There it is. My soon to be long and suffering co-host Lexi will do it for me. So. And consider following us on our social media pages. We have Facebook at GTS Base. We have Instagram at Gunpla Talk Show. We have a new Twitter, which is at Gunpla Talk Show. That's our handle if you guys haven't followed us there. And we have our YouTube, of course, which is at Gunpla Talk Show. It'd be really cool if, just following us could support us, and it'd be super awesome. Remember that today's show was brought to you by Argama Hobby. ArgamaHobby.com. They are stationed here in Canada, but you can order if you're in the U.S. They actually do ship to the U.S. and they ship really cheap to New York. So I'm looking at you, Noble Mecca, because I know you're in New York and you're one of the biggest supporters here. So definitely go check them out. Argama Hobby is super cool. And consider becoming a patron. Exclusive look at upcoming content, chance to win kits with our tier system, and support our goal to get better equipment one day. Yeah. What, Lexi?
Love it.
Everything's okay, Lexi?
Everything's good.
Are you suffering?
No.
Oh.
Long
No.
suffering is coming. Just you wait.
Oh God. No, but thank you so much. Thank you so much, Justin. It's been awesome. It's been
No
awesome.
worries.
And to everybody out there, we will see you guys here next week with our other special guest. We're gonna be talking to Odafest actually next week. So.
Tell them I miss them.
Yeah. So.
Aw. I'm sure they miss you too.
Yeah, we'll be talking to Odafest, so be sure to come back for that and click that follow here on Twitch if you haven't already. It'll really help us out to become affiliated with them and all of that. And other than that, thank you so much. See you guys on the next one.
Bye.